particularly to western areas of Scotland, but also into some northwestern areas of England and parts of Northern Ireland as well. Elsewhere, we should stay dry through the rest of the day. Mix of sunny spells, the longest-lived sunshine likely across southeastern areas, where the winds will be the lightest this afternoon, so highs of around 21 degrees here, but further north and west closer to the lower teens. So a fairly fresh feeling day, and some of those showers could turn quite heavy and possibly thundery. The winds will be particularly strong through this afternoon across western areas of Scotland. We could see gale force gusts and some very heavy bursts of rain. Down in towards parts of Northern Ireland, less of a risk of the heavier showers, but a mix of sunny spells and showers, and still pretty breezy here into this afternoon. The winds will slowly start to ease as we head into the evening further south. However, the next batch of rain is arriving from the west, so skies will cloud over across parts of South Wales and southwestern areas of England. And this is the next front arriving for Thursday evening and into Friday. It will bring quite a lot of wet weather to many central and southern areas of England and Wales. Further north, a continued risk of some heavy showers overnight. There will still be some clearer skies for some parts of Northern Ireland and Northern England. Here, temperatures could dip down into the lower single figures for some of us, but most of us, it will be a fairly mild start to the day. And as I said, it's going to be a damper day for southern and central areas. The rain will likely come and go. There could be a drier spell through the middle of the day, but we will see the return of that rain from the south and west once again into the evening. But in any sunshine, temperatures climbing to around 21 degrees, but for most of us, a little below par for the time of year.
That warm feeling inside.
£30,000 in tax-free cash really could be yours. It's our biggest cash prize of the year so far, and you could be getting that winning call from us to tell you that you're our next Great British Giveaway winner.
You're joking. Really? Seriously? It's not a wine. What is it?
Oh, slipping neck. Oh dear.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock. Like I said, I've never won anything like this.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon. Thank you.
For a chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Hey! This election night, we're putting on a party.
And you are invited.
We'll be here with you.
Following all the twists and turns.
As well as all the live reaction from our election night watch party.
With our GB News lineup.
And as morning breaks, we'll be here with breakfast from 6 a.m.
As it becomes clear who the winners and the losers really are.
Vote 2024.
Thursday the 4th of July.
Only on GB News.
Britain's election channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled.
Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. GB News, Britain's election channel.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Thursday, the 4th of July. I'm Emily Carver.
Very good morning to you, and I'm Ben Leo.
Now, millions of Brits head to the polls today to vote in the general election. Don't forget your voter ID. Polls close at 10 o'clock.
And of course, it's a massive weekend for British sport as well. We'll be live at the Henley Royal Regatta, the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, Wimbledon, of course, for the tennis, and the very latest on the Euros too.
And we'll be heading stateside for the latest on President Joe Biden's future. Kamala Harris is now a favourite to replace him.
And it's all a bit awkward for Prince Harry as tens of thousands sign a petition to stop him receiving a sports award for veterans.
Well, as you know, it's a big day. Everyone's going to the polls for the general election. We can't talk politics today. We can't talk politics. Those are the rules. But what we can talk about is...
Dogs.
Dogs.
Woof.
Dogs at polling stations. Please do send... here we go. Here's a picture.
She looks familiar.
Here's she. He looks... That's Bob. That's Bob the cockapoo. He's, I think he's about 14 years old now, actually, but he looks, you know, very young indeed.
Is your pooch?
This is my pooch at the polling station, exercising his democratic right to a vote. He wasn't sure. He's not particularly political, is Bob.
Are we going to have 3 hours of this? 3 hours of poor puns.
And here's a pug at the polling station. Someone sent that one in.
Nice, nice. One more. And what's this one? I'm more of a cat person, I'll be honest.
You're more of a cat person.
What breed is this?
I have absolutely no idea, and I will not guess because I don't want to insult that lady there, nor do I want to insult dog
We mentioned
lovers.
it in the handover with Andrew. There are some pictures online of cats at polling stations. I'll see if I can find them and do my bit for the cat brigade.
But yes, please do send in any pictures you have if you're bringing your dog along to the polling station, or your cat, or your ferret, or your hamster, or your pet rat.
Someone said...
Hedgehog.
Someone sent in a picture of their cockatoo as well.
A cockatoo? Well, send them in. gbnews.com/...
Breaking tradition a little bit as well. Sorry.
Actually, you can't send them in on gbnews.com/yoursay. Send them in on gbviews@gbnews.uk or on Twitter. Tweet us. We're there too. So do get in touch.
Yes. Also, go on gbnews.com/yoursay for all your comments. We'll try and read them out during the show. But first, your news headlines with Sophia.
Ben, thank you. Good afternoon from the GB Newsroom at 2 minutes past 12. Your top story this hour. Polls are open across Britain as millions of people cast their votes to choose the next government. The first voters were up bright and early as stations opened the doors at 7 o'clock this morning. They'll remain open until 10 o'clock tonight, giving a chance to around 46 million eligible voters to have their say on who forms Britain's next government. A total of 650 parliamentary constituencies are being contested across the UK. But this is the first general election to require photo ID, and voters are being reminded to bring their driver's licence, passport or other ID, or risk being turned away. A woman has admitted to murdering her parents in Chelmsford in June 2019. The bodies of John and Lois McCulloch were discovered by police at their daughter's house after concerns were raised over their welfare. Virginia McCulloch, who's 36, pleaded guilty today before being remanded in custody. Forensic police in Tenerife are focusing their efforts on an Airbnb property where missing teenager Jay Slater reportedly stayed before he vanished. It comes after one of the last people to see the 18-year-old insisted he was alive and well when he left his holiday rental to catch a bus back to his own accommodation. Police have described the individual as irrelevant to the ongoing investigation. The search for Jay has now concluded, but police are continuing to look into his last known movements and why he travelled to a location so far from his accommodation. Former police officer Oliver Lawrence told GB News the investigation has been inconsistent.
Definitely shows maybe the level of dysfunction in this investigation. You know, we, as you said, quite rightly pointed out, what we last knew 16 days ago was Jay made contact with his friends late one evening to say that he had 1% of battery left, that he was running out of water and that he was lost and disorientated. And we had a full-blown search carried out by local Spanish authorities in Tenerife. That hasn't obviously gained any results whatsoever. 2 individuals that were known to be in the company of Jay were returned back to the UK after a short level of questioning. So one has to start beginning to ask sort of what is the investigational plan? What is the hypotheses of the investigators?
Now, in the US, state governors who met with President Biden last night say he's fit for office and he has their backing. The president faced a grilling at the meeting of Democratic governors, which many saw as a test of his ongoing support within the party. Among those signalling their support was Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, who some see as an alternative for the Democratic ticket. But the United Front, among many of those in attendance, unsettled some, with reports suggesting there was little effort to gauge the group's private degree of support for the president. Politics professor Scott Lucas says the coming days will be crucial.
Tomorrow he has a rally in one swing state in Wisconsin. On Sunday he has a rally in another swing state, which is Pennsylvania. If Biden can make it through that interview and those rallies and instill some confidence, then maybe he stays in the race. But if Biden stumbles in any of those appearances, then I think next week is the critical time when you will see, not publicly, but privately, the pressure build on him to leave gracefully for the sake of America, given the threat of Donald Trump.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump claims President Biden is quitting and believes he'll face Kamala Harris at the US election. In a video posted to social media, the former president can be seen in a golf buggy speaking to an unidentified person. Despite the White House insisting President Biden will remain in the race, Mr. Trump can be heard saying they've just announced he's quitting, though it's unclear what the claim is based on.
Quitting the race. Is that right? Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. But can you imagine that guy dealing with Putin and the president of China, who's a fierce person? He's a fierce man. Right. A very tough guy, and they see him. They probably can't. But they just announced he's probably quitting. Good. Very good. Yeah, that's amazing.
In other news, the Prince and Princess of Wales are understood to be donating to Hurricane Beryl relief efforts after the storm tore through islands in the southeast Caribbean. At least 6 people are known to have been killed in Grenada, Venezuela and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The storm was expected to be close to major hurricane strength when it passed over Jamaica yesterday. It's heading towards the Cayman Islands today and into Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. And police in Australia have recovered the remains of a 12-year-old girl who was attacked by a crocodile while swimming in a creek in a remote part of the country. The unnamed child was reported missing on Tuesday. She'd been swimming with family in Mango Creek, around 225 miles from Darwin in the Northern Territory. The area is home to around 100,000 saltwater crocodiles, which is more than anywhere else in the world, though attacks on people are not common. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler, more in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello, welcome back. It's 12:08. You're with Emily and Ben Leo on Good Afternoon Britain.
Yes, Ben Leo, not Tom Harwood. Sometimes you get confused.
Exactly. The reason I emphasise that is because sometimes people will say, oh, Tom, what are you talking about? Last week your views on the trans debate was completely opposite, confusing me with Tom. And I say, yes, I'm not Tom. We look similar, but trust me, we are very different in many ways.
Anyway, Andy Murray is back in action after pulling out of the Wimbledon singles.
Yes, go on, Andy. The two-time champion is pairing up with his brother tonight, Jamie, in the doubles this afternoon, before joining up with former US Open champion Emma Raducanu this weekend. So let's cross there to Wimbledon live now with our very own Olivia Utley. Hello, Olivia. First question, how many punnets of strawberries and cream have you had? And elsewhere, what's on the cards today?
Well, I'm not allowed in yet, so none yet, but I'm looking forward to some later if I possibly can. It is a really, really big day in British tennis today. Not only is Andy Murray back this afternoon for what might be his last ever match at Wimbledon in the men's doubles with his brother Jamie Murray, but we've got Emma Raducanu playing later in the week. We've got Jack Draper and Cameron Norrie, 2 up-and-coming British stars, playing each other on court 1 later this afternoon. And we've got Fernley, also of Great Britain, facing Djokovic at 1:30 to kick everything off. Things are looking pretty promising. I was actually here at Wimbledon as a punter on Tuesday, and I watched the Jack Draper get through his first round at Wimbledon. He was on very, very good form. And as for Raducanu, who's obviously struggled through all sorts of injuries and fitness problems since her spectacular US Open win in 2021, she too seems to be back on form. She absolutely thrashed her Belgian opponent yesterday, beating her 6-2, 6-1 in just 75 minutes. So that's pretty exciting too. Today, all eyes are really on Andy Murray, and that's what punters are really excited about. I spoke to a few of them earlier. Here's what they had to say.
I think he should keep going till he can't. Look, he's got the willpower, so he's good for trying. Who knows? You never know. He might get lucky. He might get further than you think.
I think he made a good decision to play the doubles and be here.
Maybe go out on a high, you know, the doubles. I think he's playing the mixed doubles as well. Probably with his fitness level, we just didn't have enough for the singles, and that's why, you know, he opted out of the singles. But I think he's got every chance in the doubles.
So a lot of excitement about Andy Murray there, and it seems everyone here is very much behind him. There was a bit of a question over whether he should sort of be struggling on to do this final Wimbledon, or whether he should have bowed out on a high a while ago. But everyone here is very, very excited to see him play later on today.
Fantastic stuff. And of course, Andy Murray is going to be playing with Emma Raducanu as well. I'm reading that they're likely not going to have much time to practice, are they, if at all?
No, and this is very, very big for Emma Raducanu. She said that it was her childhood dream to play the mixed doubles with Andy Murray, and that childhood dream is coming true. But she is very inexperienced when it comes to doubles playing. In fact, she's only played one professional round before, and she was knocked out immediately. So, of course, Britain is really, really excited to see that match. Let's see how it goes. She is on the best form that we've seen her on in quite a few years now, so that bodes well.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you very much indeed, Olivia, for being there at Wimbledon for us. I hope you get to see a little more tennis as well later today. Thank you very much.
You're an Andy fan, Andy Murray?
You know what? I always used to find him perhaps a little bit grumpy, but I think his personality is starting to shine, or has done for the last few years. What do you think?
He's my hero. When he won,
he's your hero? Yeah. Oh, well, there we go.
I grew up playing tennis. My boys now play tennis, and Andy was always there at the top. And, you know, when he lost that Wimbledon final against, I think it was Federer in 2012, then he came back to win the Olympics a couple of weeks later. He won gold. Then he won 2 Wimbledons after that. I just think he's got guts, he's got character, and, yeah, I've always loved him.
Well, you clearly know a lot more about the tennis than I do, but you're a bit of a tiger dad, aren't you?
What does that mean?
Well, you know, you've got your little kids out there playing tennis already.
Yeah, so my boy, Jude, good morning, Jude, good afternoon. He's only 4, but he's very good at tennis.
That's amazing.
And my mum says to me, you can't live your dreams through your children. I say, well, I'll try my hardest.
I feel like everyone does a little bit, don't they?
I think you've got to risk sacrificing your relationship with a child if you want true success. Look at the Williams sisters, look at Max Verstappen's dad. They've all had fractured relationships with their fathers. So if it means Jude getting to Wimbledon one day and you introducing to Olivia and saying, how's Jude getting on in centre court, Olivia? Then I'm up for it.
Well, you never know, do you? Yes, children do need a bit of push if they're going to go to stardom.
Bit of a shove.
They're going to make it. I believe we're now going to the Henley Royal Regatta. This is one of the biggest events in the British sporting calendar. Of course, more than 300,000 spectators are watching the rowers. But we have Bev Turner there, of course, reporting for us live. Bev, how is your day going?
Oh, it's awful, Emily. Can you imagine? I'm having to sit on a boat, sip champagne, and look at lots of very tall men in lycra. It's a very tough job, but somebody has to do it, and I'm giving it my all. So listen, just have a look here, guys. Dozens and dozens of boats now taking to the water as we move towards lunchtime. Actually, the activity here is really picking up. And for a lot of people here, of course, it is social. It's incredibly civilized. There are picnics, there are pims, there are lots of people walking around holding onto their hats, let me tell you, on a day like today. It's a little breezy down here. But for these athletes, it is a serious competition. As you just said, 300,000 spectators come here across 5 days. A record number of entries, actually, about 800 entries this year. People come from 27 different countries. I've heard all sorts of boats being announced over the tannoy. We've got boats here from Australia, from America, from Canada, from Bermuda. in fact. And we're just going to now move over and talk to one man who's already been successful this morning. This is Oliver Ziedler, who has very kindly joined us now. You're a single sculler, Oliver. So just to explain to our viewers who may not be experts on the sport of rowing, what's the difference between the rowing and the sculling?
Well, rowing is with one oar, so you can only do it together because otherwise you would do circles. And sculling is with two oars, and it's like more a kind of art, I would say, of rowing, because you really need to balance the boat on your own, especially in the skiff, in the single. So it's a bit more technical. And
you were you were an international swimmer before you moved to rowing. Why did you make the transition?
Exactly. So I didn't make it to the 2016 Rio Olympics as a swimmer. And then my team a lot of people retired, so there wasn't the fun left. And then I decided to join my family. We have a big rowing history in our family, and just try out rowing. And I think this was one of the best decisions I've ever made in life.
Really? But how is it different? I mean, you're a single sculler, so it's still quite a solitary sport. When you're swimming, you're looking at the bottom of the pool for miles and hours and hours. And obviously, rowing, you're outdoors. It's very different, but you're still on your own.
Yeah, but there's a lot more going on. As you said, you're only counting the meters in the pool, looking down, and here something is going on, and especially here in Henley with the crowds around, it's a great place to be as a rower, because you're never alone, basically.
How many Henley regattas have you done now?
This is my fourth regatta here, and I'm always enjoying to come back.
Just for people who are watching at home who maybe haven't been here, just describe how impressive this event is and how different it is to normal regattas.
So usually at the international regattas we are racing, you have 6-lane racing. Here it's always man versus man, so it's a very gladiatorial event, I would say. Then the crowd is very, very close here. Here, as I said, here are always people around cheering you all the way. Usually at international regattas you maybe have a bit of a crowd at the last 250. Here it's a completely different game, and it's a lot more fun, and it's a bigger event here.
Yeah. Oliver, can I ask how tall you are?
I'm 2 meters and 4 centimeters.
What's that in feet and inches?
That's a good question. I think it's 6'7", 6'8", something like this.
I used to work on the NBA coverage, and I've interviewed some very tall basketball players, but you must be up there 6'7", 6'8". Why is that an advantage when you're a rower?
Well, I think you just need to find the right boat to carry you, and that's more the challenge. Otherwise, I think it's a big advantage to just use your body, your mass especially, to move the boat forward. And it can be an advantage, but it can also be a disadvantage, because the center of gravity for me is pretty high. And in a single, to balance this small shell, it's not that easy. So you need to get used to it, need to practice a lot. But if the boat runs, it really starts to fly, I think.
And Paris will be your second Olympics. You came 7th last time. How are you hoping to do this year?
Well, I don't want to come home without a medal. This would be nice. Last year I was the big favorite. Last time I was the big favorite for gold, but didn't make it in the A final. Won the B final in the end. So I hope to do better in the semi-final this year. That's the first task, and then everything else will be a bonus. But I'm in good shape. I'm getting there, and let's see.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much, Oliver, for joining us on GB News. Fantastic. Emily, back to you.
Brilliant interview. Thank you very much indeed. Have a fabulous time, Bev. If we don't catch you again, have a fantastic afternoon, and we'll see you later on the telly. Thank you very much indeed.
Not sure who's got the best job, Bev down at Henley or Olivia at Wimbledon.
I know, we're the losers here in the studio today, aren't we?
Someone bring me some strawberries and cream, and then we'll call it quits. Right, it's a massive weekend of sport elsewhere, of course, on top of Wimbledon and Henley. Not least, the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, and England playing Switzerland in the Euros on Saturday night. So GB News sports presenter Paul Coitz joins us now to break it down.
And expert in the Pedalo classification, by the way, at Henley, which I'm still waiting for.
Pedalo world champ?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. That's what I'm hoping for, but I don't think they've actually included that yet, Henley. But there's always the future, isn't it?
There's always the future. Anything's an Olympic sport now.
Well, you think so?
Skateboarding, all of it.
Well, that's it. We had a skateboarder on this morning on breakfast, 6:30 this morning. He lives in California, and Andy McDonald, his name is, and he is 50. So it's incredible. And so he's the Great British Skateboarding Team, no word of a lie, a girl who's 16, a girl who's 15, and Andy, who's 50, who turns out is one of the world's greatest skateboarders and he's won medals at the X Games. I mean, we didn't expect to be talking about this, but he's so successful, and he's got, I think his father was born here. So he's lived in California all his life, lived a skateboarding life. So we're like, welcome. Of course you're British. So he'll be competing for Britain.
Well, there you go. You're never too old.
That's the definition of a cool dad right there.
Isn't it just walking everywhere with his skateboard, takes the kids to school. The thing is, they walk and he goes on the skateboard. So, but anyway.
Or maybe that would be a bit embarrassing.
Well, there's lots else going on.
There's a few bits and pieces,
and of course, not least the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, which you're not keen to talk about because you think F1's not a sport.
Well, that's not necessarily true. That's well, if there was any motorsport, there's throwing under the bus is one of those which you've just done to me there. But motorsport, I know you love.
I've just got back from the Austrian GP
you have.
this weekend. But this weekend is particularly interesting because Lando Norris and Max Verstappen had a massive crash in Austria. I was there, yards away. It was very, very good.
Well, so you just like the crashes?
Oh, yes, that's part of it, yeah.
There's so much of... It's like this, though, isn't it? So I enjoy watching F1. Of course, I love all sport, but I like something which is a little more physical, that has a little bit more of everything.
Come on, Paul, they're pulling 4 or 5 Gs around some of those corners.
Well, they just do that, don't they? Just do that.
Easy.
I've already said
Easy.
that. Everybody's going to kill me for this. I'm just
Paul,
kidding.
let's get you onto safer territory and talk about... Should we talk about the Tour de France or should we talk about the Euros? What do you fancy?
You choose it. Well, let's talk about the Tour de France, because Mark Cavendish, who, when we talk about great British sportsmen, and we're agreed, aren't we, that Andy Murray, I know you said he was your hero.
He is, yeah.
And for me as well, when it comes to great British sportsmen of all time, he's up there. I mean, if not number one. And then you've got Mark Cavendish. Now, they're both knighted, of course, Sir Andy and Sir Mark as well. Now, Mark Cavendish, the Manx Missile, they call him, because he's from the Isle of Man, and has won 34 stages before yesterday of the Tour de France. He's a sprinter. So there's a difference between the grand classification, which is when you get the yellow jersey, etc. So he's a sprinter, and he's all about winning different stages and their sprint stages. So he won yesterday, and I mean, what he's been through over the years. I mean, he's 39 years old for a start. So for such a physical sport like cycling and sprinting, you'd think of power, speed, etc. You'd think by the time you get to about 30, it's going to go slightly on the slide. But he's kept going.
Depressing.
That's me and you done for.
Well, how do you think I feel talking about this? You know, I would go around on a running chopper. Yeah, that's true. Skateboarding's still a chance for me. But Mark Cavendish, he's had illness, we've had depression, he's had horrendous injuries, but still keeps going. And there's something about this magical 35th stage win. Eddie Merckx, the great Belgian cyclist, he shared that record with Mark Cavendish. So Mark went to the Tour de France last year, hoping that he was a possibility that he'd win that 35th stage. Horrendous accident, broke his collarbone, and even now, he's come back again to do it, and he won it yesterday.
Yeah, a real idol of British sport. As you said, we should really celebrate these people.
I mean, this guy's incredible.
And that's a big record.
It really is. And so who knows? He's going again today. So after that, and he could then make it 36. It's every possibility.
I'd probably pack it in after making a record.
I think there's something in these athletes that they just find it so hard to pack it in.
You're right.
You've been living your whole life for a sport.
Well, you need, with any top sports person, there's that will to win, which is absolutely more... I mean, I imagine you're a bit like that, are you?
Yeah, I'm very...
I mean, I know you, Ben, I love you, but I imagine when you play your kids, you want to win, right?
Definitely.
You won't let them win.
I can see it in your eyes.
Well, that's another conversation. They need to learn how to lose, because sorry to talk about my boys all the time, but Jude hates losing. Right. He lost a little tennis tournament. It's just a friendly thing where you won like some sweets. He lost it, refused to have the team picture at the end of the thing with all the other kids and the coaches, refused to take a chockie for taking part. He stormed out. And
you said, well done, son.
Well, I kind of do like that. He needs to kind of manage it in the future, but I kind of like that competitive
this is what we have when it comes to top-line sport. If you speak to footballers, one of my favourite stories is a friend of ours, Clive Allen, who's a legendary striker, played for England as well, played for many London clubs, and he told me about when he'd be on a holiday, and he's probably going to thank me for telling you this, and he came back back and he said, "Oh yeah, I won the family table tennis tournament." I said, "Oh, did you really?" And he said, "Yeah, I beat my 12-year-old niece in the final." But that's top sports people.
Oh my God,
they
that
have
reminds
that
me.
thing. I'd be like, "Yeah, whatever, you know, it's fine."
That reminds me of a family holiday. That
does it really?
Yeah,
does
the
it
family
Did you
ping
win
pong.
it though, Emily? That's the thing.
No, I don't think I won, but there was a lot of anger.
Yeah.
A lot of strops. Joy, strops, crying, kicking, you know,
Have to
all
win.
sorts. But there you go. That's what happens when you stick a family together for a long time,
The difference is that's great sports people. They have to win, and there's that will to win against all odds, whereas a lot of us would go, you know what, it doesn't really matter. I have to do it.
I think we need more of it. More of it in British
Well, there we go.
schools,
Do we
more of it
need
in
more?
teachers.
Do we need to be more competitive as a nation? Why don't we ask our viewers and listeners that?
Maybe.
Why don't we ask? Do we need
Thanks,
to be
Paul.
more competitive?
Pleasure.
Be more like Ben Leo. Get the kids out there playing tennis from the age of 2. Anyway, we're going to be discussing England in the next hour. Coming up, a petition against Prince Harry receiving an award for his work with veterans has now reached over 50,000 signatures. It's a bit awkward, isn't it?
Apparently he's meant to be popular in the US, according to the Sussex squad, but this says otherwise.
We'll have the latest shortly. This is Good Afternoon Britain. We're on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Prince Harry, he's been opening up about the death of his mother, Princess Diana, while speaking to the founder of armed forces charity Scotty's Little Soldiers.
Well, the Duke of Sussex joined 50 children who were being supported by the charity and urged youngsters to open up about their grief, saying, if you suppress it forever, it will eat you away inside.
Well, let's speak to our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker, who joins us in the studio. Cameron, Prince Harry has spoken quite a lot about grief and bereavement from his mother's passing and the trauma he had. Did he say anything new that we haven't heard before?
And the difference here was, instead of kind of talking about himself, which clearly we've heard a lot of in the last 3 years from Prince Harry with his memoir Spare and the Netflix series, I could go on, he was putting the spotlight back on the charity and on Nikki and her story. So it was almost like having the old Prince Harry back, and also thinking about like what could have been if he didn't step back as a working member of the royal family.
That's so fascinating. In many ways, he was sort of stepping into his old role in this. It was sort of performing a duty that he would have done back before the days of Megxit.
It is kind of like before the days of Megxit. He's been heavily involved in the charity for a good decade now, but when he came back for the Invictus Games celebration commemorations of the 10 years of Invictus last month, he spent time with 50 or so children, and he talks about how first instinct of a child when they lose a parent in awful circumstances such as that is, I have to be really sad for the rest of my life. And he talks about how those children who've lost parents through conflict feel like that, and how actually it's okay to be happy again later on in life when you've had the support, and realising that the parent you've lost would want you to be happy later on. So that's the message Prince Harry was trying to get across here.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Right, well, it's 12:29 in the afternoon, and we can't talk UK politics, but the polling stations are open, and do remember your voter ID. But over stateside, President Biden, he insists he's not going to drop out of the US presidential race.
Yes, and that, of course, comes after a video of Donald Trump, the former president, claiming Biden had secretly quit was leaked online. So the former US president was caught on camera on a golf course, of course, saying he thinks Kamala Harris, the vice president at the moment, will be the new Democrat nominee.
So there he is, out playing golf and gossiping about the politics.
Did you see the Biden and Trump's row in a debate about golf?
No.
About 3 or 4 minutes. They were talking. Everyone online was saying this is the epitome of US politics, arguing about who's got the biggest handicap, who's got the best swing. It was
goodness me, it is wild.
Very strange.
These TV debates. But yes, Biden has admitted that he, quote, screwed up that debate, that he didn't put his best foot forward. There's been multiple excuses, hasn't there? Travel exhaustion, jet lag, what else?
I mean, well, yeah, he said that he was just jet lagged. So he said he travelled the world 3 or 4 times over in the days leading up to the debate. But, I mean, you just need to look at, as far as I'm concerned, the years leading up to that debate. I mean, we could have a litany, we could have a compilation of gaffes that he made.
I'm sure there are many out there.
Some accusing him that he can't even walk properly anymore. In the early days of his presidency, you had that really now infamous clip of President Biden trying to get up the stairs of Air Force One, slipping 3 or 4 times. Other videos where he's shuffling along the White House lawn, trying to get to his helicopter, mumbling, not finishing sentences coherently. I think it is. Do you not think it's widely accepted now that
it's widely accepted. It's no longer controversial. People on all sides of politics will say the same about President Joe Biden. There's been so much discussion about whether he, has some cognitive issues, whether even dementia is on the cards. Lots of people discussing this very openly now. It's no longer a controversial issue. But he insists that he's going to keep carrying on. But Kamala Harris waiting in the wings, it seems.
I mean, I think she'd be worse than Biden, because she's been almost absent for the past 4 years as a VP. And she, again, I'm quite into my US politics, you've probably not seen it, but she did a clip with some famous US female rapper the other day. It was so cringeworthy. It was so... she was talking about, yeah, girl, I'm from the streets, this and that. It was excruciating.
Oh, gosh.
Maybe we can find it to show you a bit later on, but that's probably the highlight of her last 4 years.
What sort of down with the kids?
Yeah, and it was
the youth.
Completely inauthentic.
Oh, gosh, that is a bit cringeworthy.
But I guess from a Democrat point of view, what she does have is she's a woman of colour. So, they've never had a female president before.
Yeah, yes, and of course that will be a plus to some people within the campaign. But, it's not looking great for President Joe Biden. It would be quite something if they did decide to oust him and put forward Kamala Harris instead.
I want to see a Trump, not because I like Trump, but Trump presidency working with whoever wins the elections today. Whoever that may be. We can't talk about it too much, but...
But later, actually, we're going to be speaking to someone working on Biden's presidential campaign. So that's going to be very interesting to see whether she acknowledges, let's say, Joe Biden's difficulties and how... obvious they've been in recent debates and in recent appearances, and what exactly their plan might be for the rest of the presidential campaign. So definitely stay tuned for that.
They can't keep towing the party line, surely.
We shall see. But keep the dog pics coming in. We want to see them, of course, outside polling stations. This is a thing. Some of you have been asking, why do you want to have pictures of dogs if they can't vote? We want them because it's a meme. People like to see dogs outside polling stations. I've shown mine, so show us yours. It's the headlines with Sophia now.
Emily, thank you. It's 12:32. I'm Sophia Wenslet in the GB newsroom. Your headlines. Polls are open across Britain as millions of people cast their votes to choose the next government. The first voters were up bright and early as stations opened their doors at 7 o'clock this morning. They'll remain open until 10 o'clock tonight, giving a chance to around 46 million eligible voters to have their say on who forms Britain's next government. But this is the first general election to require photo ID, and voters are being reminded to bring their driver's licence, passport or other ID or risk being turned away. A woman has admitted murdering her parents in June of 2019. The bodies of John and Lois McCulloch were discovered by police at their daughter's house after concerns were raised over their welfare. Virginia McCulloch, who's 36, pleaded guilty today before being remanded in custody. Forensic police in Tenerife are focusing their efforts on an Airbnb property where missing teenager Jay Slater reportedly stayed before he vanished. It comes after one of the last people to see the 18-year-old insisted he was alive and well when he left his holiday rental to catch a bus back to his own accommodation. Police have described the individual as irrelevant to the ongoing investigation. In the US, state governors who met with President Biden last night say he's fit for office and he has their backing. The president faced a grilling at the meeting of Democratic governors, which many saw as a test of his ongoing support within the party. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler. More in half an hour.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. It's going to be a breezy day, especially across the northwest, but there will be some sunnier spells across the south. However, to the north, where that windier weather is through the day, we've also got an occluded front, and that's going to bring some persistent heavy rain and showers, particularly to western areas of Scotland, but also into some northwestern areas of England and parts of Northern Ireland as well. Elsewhere, we should stay dry through the rest of the day. Mix of sunny spells, the longest-lived sunshine likely across southeastern areas where the winds will be the lightest this afternoon, so highs of around 21 degrees here, but further north and west closer to the lower teens, so a fairly fresh feeling day, and some of those showers could turn quite heavy and possibly thundery. The winds will be particularly strong through this afternoon across western areas of Scotland. We could see gale force gusts and some very heavy bursts of rain. Down in towards parts of Northern Ireland, less of a risk of the heavier showers, but a mix of sunny spells and showers, and still pretty breezy here into this afternoon. The winds will slowly start to ease as we head into the evening further south. However, the next batch of rain is arriving from the west, so skies will cloud over across parts of South Wales and southwestern areas of England. And this is the next front arriving for Thursday and into Thursday evening and into Friday. It will bring quite a lot of wet weather to many central and southern areas of England and Wales. Further north, a continued risk of some heavy showers overnight. There will still be some clearer skies for some parts of Northern Ireland and Northern England. Here, temperatures could dip down into the lower single figures for some of us, but most of us, it will be a fairly mild start to the day. And as I said, it's going to be a damper day for southern and central areas. The rain will likely come and go. There could be a drier spell through the middle of the day, but we will see the return of that rain from the south and west once again into the evening. But in any sunshine, temperatures climbing to around 21 degrees, but for most of us, a little below par for the time of year.
The latest GB News travel.
A closure now for the eastbound side of the M62 causing long delays. It's whilst the police deal with an incident from Lofthouse at 29 to Rothwell at 30. Anti-clockwise on the M60, there's queue in traffic and lane closure to an obstruction on the road at junction 15 for the Swinton interchange. Southbound on the M6, traffic is heavier than normal just after junction 33 for Lancaster South. Northbound on the M6, a lane closure to a broken down vehicle from junction 18 through to Knutsford at junction 19, though traffic is coping well, but it's very slow for the eastbound side of the M4 and the exit slip road to the M5. Emergency barrier repairs continue, so the closure is in place at junction 20 for the Almondsbury interchange. And that's your very latest travel news.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Hello, welcome back. 12:38, you're with Ben and Emily, not Tom, on Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News. Lots of pictures coming in from your doggos at the polling stations. This little cutie is Willow, standing next to some very colourful flowers there. Summer, indeed.
Very
nice.
cute, very cute, with the polling station sign slap bang in front of those beautiful flowers. Lovely to see. We've got Parker and Maud here in their matching bandanas. They seem to be staring up at the sunny sky, or have you got a treat there?
Looks like a nice day out there, doesn't it?
It looks like a lovely day.
We wouldn't know from the studio.
Yeah, we wouldn't know down here, but it is a beautiful day in some parts of the country.
And this one here, this little pooch, is our political editor Christopher Hope's dog. It's the 5th time he's been at a polling station, so he's a...
Oh, he's a regular.
A veteran, somewhat. Is that Jack Russell, Emily?
It looks like one. It looks like one. Correct us if we're wrong, but it does look like a little tiny Jack Russell. Another beautiful shot there in the sun. So, yeah, do keep them coming. It doesn't have to be dogs. Doesn't have to be dogs. Perhaps you've taken another animal down to the polling station. I mean, weirder things have happened. Someone's got in touch with me on Twitter and said that once when he was working at the volunteering at the polling station, someone turned up on horseback, but they couldn't allow the horse to get in, obviously. So he must have...
We've had lots of other pictures, birds, cockatoos, some cats, but none at the polling station. So, crucially, this is a bit of a meme, a tradition. It's pets, dogs mainly, at the polling station, not just on your sofa.
Yes, hashtag pets
okay.
at the polling station.
Yeah.
So, yes, please do keep them coming in. We'll let you know if there are any more of our team here at GB News with their dogs.
Yes, I'm trying to get my mother-in-law. She's been down the... She got rejected for not having proper ID.
Oh, no.
She's an NHS worker. She thought the NHS card would have worked. She's been WhatsApping me furious, and I said, look, get your ID, go down and take Brody, your dog, and get us a picture. So hopefully we get that one.
If at first you don't succeed, try again. Anyway, moving on. A petition against Prince Harry receiving an award for his work with veterans has now reached over 50,000 signatures.
Yeah, so the controversy is around the Duke of Sussex receiving the Pat Tillman Award for his work with the Invictus Games, which is typically given to individuals with a, quote, strong connection to sports.
Yes, so Pat Tillman, a former American footballer who gave up his work in the sport to join the armed forces in the wake of 9/11, was killed sadly in Afghanistan in 2004.
His mother, Mary, believes there are more deserving recipients of the award than the Duke, who she described as controversial and divisive.
Gosh, she doesn't hold back, does she? Should we speak to former BBC royal correspondent Michael Cole? Michael, this sounds all a little bit awkward for Prince Harry. Do you think it's justified, this petition?
Good afternoon, Emily. Good afternoon, Ben. Valour is sometimes described as discretion, and perhaps this is a case where the Prince could very politely decline this important award because he would not want to be booed when accepting it, because this is controversial. I hear that the signatures are piling on. I've even heard the figure of 60,000. And why this is important is that the Americans take the Pat Tillman Award very, very seriously. As you just outlined, he gave up a $3 million football contract to serve his country, and he went to Afghanistan and Iraq, and he was killed there, tragically, by friendly fire, but he was awarded the Silver Star for valour. What the people feel, and that it was expressed by his mother, was that Prince Harry has said things and done things recently which make him unworthy of receiving this award. Actions have consequences, as we all know. Now, I would commend, and I think most people would commend, his 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan. He served this country well as an Apache commander, a helicopter attack commander, and also the fact that he set up the Invictus Games. He saw the Warrior Games in America, and he modelled the Invictus, which means undefeated, on those games. But all of that was done pre-Meghan. And of course, we all know what's happened since his wedding in 2017 to Meghan Markle. There have been repeated attacks on senior members of the royal family. And in America, and I'm quite sure many of these signatures are American, the royal family is and remains very popular. The late Queen was very popular, and the Prince and Princess of Wales, William and Kate, are extremely popular in America. So maybe if he's being advised properly, Prince Harry may reflect that discretion is the better part of valour and politely decline.
There's an exclusive polling for Newsweek, which is the US publication, typically, I guess, described as kind of a mouthpiece for Harry and Meghan. But their new polling from a few weeks ago says that the Duchess of Sussex was liked by 36% of US adults and disliked by 24%. And that gives her a net approval rating of 12, which is equivalent to King Charles's. Do you believe that?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. But I believe that one of the most recent popularity polls showed that Kate, the Princess of Wales, had a popularity rating of something like 60% or more than that, so almost double the Meghan rating. Of course, polls are very much on our mind today, although we don't mention them anymore, and it will be interesting to see. But what is interesting is that the public perception of the Prince, who served his country very well from the front seat of an Apache attack helicopter, is now a controversial figure, as Pat Tillman's mother so eloquently put it. It's a great shame, and it's a great shame to see what this country has lost, because I was only thinking recently the Duchess of Cambridge, Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, Sophie, went to Kiev and did a good job there with all the people who are suffering in Ukraine. But that's exactly the job that, had he still stayed as a working member of the royal family, that Prince Harry has been doing, working with people who've been in the combat zones and have suffered as a result of it. It's all a great big pity. We'll have to see whether he wants to accept this award, but it can be nothing less, Emily, than controversial.
Yeah, that's how I feel about the whole thing. It is all rather sad. Prince Harry could have done such a fantastic job as a working royal. But Michael, just very quickly, do you think Prince Harry is the type to politely decline this award with this petition, or do you think he'll still go ahead?
Well, I'm sure he'll listen to what his wife says. I wish he was listening to good public relations people who would guide him on these things, because public perception is very important, particularly in his role. And he has to live by the marketplace now. He and his wife have to get their income, and they have a very expensive lifestyle, by appealing to the public. And people get turned off quite quickly by the wrong sort of actions. And I think showing a little bit of discretion, showing a little bit of nobility, shall we say some princely behavior, might be important here. He might issue a good statement praising the valour of Pat Tillman and leave it at that and say, we'll leave this for another occasion. On the other hand, he should continue with his work with Invictus and make sure that that's his life's work, because that is, in anybody's book, highly commendable.
Yes, he needs to make sure that he doesn't appear as though it's all about him, doesn't he, when it's about these matters. Thank you so much, Michael Cole. Always fantastic to talk to you, former BBC Royal correspondent. Good stuff.
I think it's important not to forget Harry's service to this country.
Of course.
I know he's not very popular. I'm his, one of his biggest critics of recent years, but I think sometimes we do forget, as Michael alluded to, his service in Afghanistan. He's a chopper pilot, etc., etc.
Yeah, which is more than a lot of people have done.
Exactly.
So there you go. Let us know your thoughts. Do you think he should politely decline this award on this occasion? Anyway, coming up, we'll be getting the latest on the search for missing teenager Jay Slater. The police in Tenerife are focusing their efforts on an Airbnb property where he reportedly stayed before he vanished. We'll get the latest.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
How deep is the rift between Prince William and Prince Harry? Well, it's been reported that Prince William is refusing to speak to Prince Harry and has even taken on the role of disciplinarian, which was once, of course, the job of Prince Philip. But has that job gone now to William? And does he indeed rule with a rod of iron? Well, joining me now to discuss this is the former BBC Royal correspondent Michael Cole. Himself has a lot of iron. Do you think this is a fair approximation of the character? After all, Michael Cole, surely the palace could do with a firm leader at the moment. Is Wills the man?
I think he is, Martin, and good afternoon to you. William, 42 last Friday. He's grown into the role of heir apparent. He looks good, he sounds good. Now, when the late Queen was alive, she was the chairman of the board, but the chief executive was definitely Prince Philip. She was the head of state, but he was the head of the family. He chaired the Way Ahead Committee. He liaised with the security services. And he laid down the law for a long, long time. Of course, Duchess of York, Sarah, Fergie, was banished. And he also used to go through the invitation lists for any royal event, striking off people he didn't want there. So he was very much in charge. And I think the situation with William is that when he makes up his mind is made up. And he's doing extraordinarily well. And he's doing it without the daily support in public of his wife, of course, and we all wish Kate, the Princess of Wales, well and a speedy continued recovery. And I think the King will be welcoming his older son taking this more prominent role because, quite frankly, he can't do everything.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
As time passes,
she could have saved Storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. 12:50 is the time. You're with me, Emily, and of course, Ben Leo too. Now, this is Phoebe. We can see here. Phoebe, either a, let's have a little look. Oh, either a rather hairy baby or a lovely pooch there, being pushed to the polling station in what looks like a pram. Another sunny day there. Apparently, it's not so sunny up north, though. Had a few comments saying it's not sunny everywhere. It's not sunny everywhere.
Never is when I go up north. Whenever I go to Scotland, I've not seen the sunshine in Scotland once.
Sometimes it's when it does shine, it's absolutely stunningly beautiful. You have very long days up in Scotland.
I've never been. I can't. This is no exaggeration. I can't remember going north of, say, Oxford and seeing the sun out.
Same when I've been to Manchester or the surrounding area. Always raining, always raining. But it makes you more grateful when the sun does eventually come out. But anyway, keep your dogs at polling stations coming into our inbox, please.
Yes, loving all the pictures.
At the polling station.
The polling station. Oh, yeah.
Very good, very good.
Right, OK. Elsewhere, on a more sombre note, it's day 18 of the search for missing teenager Jay Slater. Forensic police in Tenerife are focusing their attention now on an Airbnb property where he reportedly stayed before he vanished.
Yes, so the search has been called off, but the police are still trying to track down the movements of the 19-year-old.
Joining us now from Marbella is the latest, with the latest, rather, there we go, journalist Gerard Cousins. Good morning, Gerard. Nice to see you again. Lots of developments in the last couple of days, not least overnight. The police, of course, have stopped their search, but attention is now focused on this Airbnb.
Mm-hmm. Yes. As you say, the search, the visible search has stopped, but police were seen going in and coming out of the Airbnb earlier this week. I think it was 16, 17 days on. So what exactly they are hoping to find after the Airbnb has been thoroughly cleaned, I'm not quite sure. But obviously it has been the focus of part of the investigation this week.
It's all very odd. Reading reports also about a Rolex.
Yes, Jay, according to Mark Williams-Thomas, confessed to a friend in a Snapchat video that he'd stolen a watch outside a nightclub in the south of Tenerife before he headed up north with the two men who had rented the Airbnb. And police are aware of this. They know about it. But they have said that the two men that Jay was with have been ruled out as suspects, that they're not relevant to the inquiry. So there are a lot of unanswered questions. There's a lot of mystery surrounding all of this.
Gerard, I remember traipsing through Portugal with you back in the day for Madeleine McCann's stories. Now, of course, there's a clear difference to this story. You know, who knows? But in terms of the media attention and the mystery of it, do you think, we hope Jay returns safe and well, but do you think if this drags on, it could morph into something akin to the Madeleine mystery?
I don't see it ever getting as big as the Madeleine McCann case. Obviously, very different scenario. We're talking about a teenager. Madeleine was a young girl. But it's every parent's obviously it's every parent's holiday nightmare that, you go on holiday, your child goes on holiday, or you go on holiday with your child, they don't come back. But it certainly has got, world media attention. I mean, I keep a good eye on papers, in many parts of the world, and this story is featured not just in the UK, but also in of course Tenerife, Spain, and beyond. So.
Yes, it certainly struck a chord with millions of people, I would say. Thank you so much for bringing us that update. Gerard Cousins, you're in Marbella. Thank you very much indeed. The mystery deepens. It's hard to know, really, what is relevant and what isn't, and why have the police stopped this investigation? We've got lots more coming up, though. We're going to be back at Wimbledon, a huge week of sports, a huge weekend of sports coming up too, so we'll bring you the very latest.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. It's going to be a breezy day, especially across the northwest, but there will be some sunnier spells across the south. However, to the north, where that windier weather is through the day, we've also got an occluded front, and that's going to bring some persistent heavy rain and showers, particularly to western areas of Scotland, but also into some northwestern areas of England and parts of Northern Ireland as well. Elsewhere, we should stay dry through the rest of the day. Mix of sunny spells, the longest-lived sunshine likely across southeastern areas, where the winds will be the lightest this afternoon, so highs of around 21 degrees here, but further north and west closer to the lower teens. So a fairly fresh feeling day, and some of those showers could turn quite heavy and possibly thundery. The winds will be particularly strong through this afternoon across western areas of Scotland. We could see gale force gusts and some very heavy bursts of rain. Down in towards parts of Northern Ireland, less of a risk of the heavier showers, but a mix of sunny spells and showers, and still pretty breezy here into this afternoon. The winds will slowly start to ease as we head into the evening further south. However, the next batch of rain is arriving from the west, so skies will cloud over across parts of South Wales and southwestern areas of England. And this is the next front arriving for Thursday and into Thursday evening and into Friday. It will bring quite a lot of wet weather to many central and southern areas of England and Wales. Further north, a continued risk of some heavy showers overnight. There will still be some clearer skies for some parts of Northern Ireland and Northern England. Here, temperatures could dip down into the lower single figures for some of us, but most of us, it'll be a fairly mild start to the day. And as I said, it's going to be a damper day for southern and central areas. The rain will likely come and go. There could be a drier spell through the middle of the day, but we will see the return of that rain from the south and west once again into the evening. But in any sunshine, temperatures climbing to around 21 degrees, but for most of us, a little below par for the time of year.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's our summer treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest cash prize of the year so far. With an extra £30,000 in your bank account this year, you could take the ultimate financial holiday and send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could get you those nagging home improvements done, buy that brand new car, or just enable you to kick back and relax for the rest of the year. For a chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Britain's Newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
Well, we've got quite an extraordinary story to talk to you about now, because a triple amputee war hero is launching a bid to become the first to sail across the Pacific Ocean non-stop, solo and unsupported.
Craig Wood was blown up as a teenager by the Taliban in Afghanistan, but now he's hoping to change the perception of disabled people and raise money for other limbless veterans like himself. And Craig joins us now. Morning.
So, Craig, you are extraordinary. You are planning to take up to 80 days to sail from La Paz in Mexico to Japan.
Yeah.
How many miles is that?
It'd be over 6,000.
Amazing.
Amazing. And it will take you how long?
The minimum it's going to take me is 60 days. It could be up to 80. Yeah.
And that's on your own. You've done plenty of this before, haven't you? You've done lots of solo sailing.
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of solo sailing, but not as big as this. It is the world's biggest ocean, after all.
And why that particular route?
I wanted it to be a challenge, not just for me, but for anyone.
Right.
So any able-bodied person can look at this and go, wow, that is difficult.
Yeah.
And so that was the main drive. Then it's become a bigger thing than that now. I'm raising money for charity, and I can truly inspire people to change their perception on what is possible for disabled people.
And if you don't mind, can we ask you what happened in 2009 in Afghanistan? What were the circumstances of your injury?
I was on a normal routine foot patrol. About 5 metres in front of me, a commando IED was triggered. And subsequently, I became a triple amputee. Both legs above the knee, left hand at the wrist, facial injuries, etc., etc.
The People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Thursday, the 4th of July. I'm Ben Leo.
And I'm Emily Carver.
Millions of Brits head to the polls today to vote in the general election. Don't forget your voter ID, of course. Polls close at 10 p.m.
Yes, don't forget. And it's a massive week for British sport. We're live at the Henley Royal Regatta, the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, Wimbledon for the tennis. And, of course, we're going to have the very latest on the Euros.
And we'll be heading stateside for the latest on President Joe Biden's future. Kamala Harris is a favourite to replace him.
And new this hour, there's been a bit of controversy over the Team GB women's rugby team.
I'm not sure I want to get involved in this one.
Yeah, it's probably a bit difficult for you as a man. They've essentially been posing in what one could describe as quite racy lingerie. We'll show you a picture a little bit later.
Sharon Davies called it porn underwear.
Which was an odd choice of words. But yeah, racy underwear. Anyway, this has sparked a debate over whether this is feminism in action. You know, why shouldn't the rugby players get their kit off? You know, the men sometimes do for calendars and whatnot. Or whether this is, you know, women once again being over-sexualised in the media. You know, why do they need to strip off? Why do they need to be pictured in their underwear? I can see it from both sides, this one. But personally, if you did ask me, Ben, what I thought, and you didn't, but I'm going to tell you anyway, I think it's a bit much.
See, my argument is that we have this campaign, this body positive campaign with larger women, larger ladies, even larger men. You know, I can remember off the top of my head, say Dove, for example, the skincare, you had, you know, larger models. So why can't we have the same thing for larger athletic women? They're not fat, they're muscular. That's the whole point. They're muscular women posing in underwear.
Oh, so you think it's good for sort of seeing all sorts of bodies and celebrating strong athletes?
I think so, and I think that's the idea behind the organisers of the campaign as well. And also, going back to maybe the page 3 debate as well, everyone says it's demeaning for women, etc. Well, I think it's more demeaning to tell women what they can do with their bodies.
And the women at the races, the Grand Prix. What are they called?
Well, they don't do those anymore.
Yeah, no, what were they called?
The grid girls.
The grid girls, yeah, they got the boot, didn't they, as well?
Yeah.
Anyway, are we too puritanical? We're going to speak to the director of No Women, No Try, who's doing a documentary on women's rugby. But first, it is your headlines with Sophia.
Emily, thank you. Good afternoon from the GB newsroom at 1:02. Your top story this hour. Polls are open across Britain as millions of people cast their votes to choose the next government. The first voters were up bright and early as stations opened their doors at 7 o'clock this morning. They'll remain open until 10 o'clock tonight, giving a chance to around 46 million eligible voters to have their say on who forms Britain's next government. A total of 650 parliamentary constituencies are being contested across the UK, but this is the first general election to require photo ID, and voters are being reminded to bring their driver's licence, passport or other ID, or risk being turned away. A woman has admitted murdering her parents in June of 2019. The bodies of John and Lois McCulloch were discovered by police at their daughter's house after concerns were raised over their welfare. Virginia McCulloch, who's 36, pleaded guilty today before being remanded in custody. Forensic police in Tenerife are focusing their efforts on an Airbnb property where missing teenager Jay Slater reportedly stayed before he vanished. It comes after one of the last people to see the 18-year-old insisted he was alive and well when he left the holiday rental to catch a bus back to his own accommodation. Police have described the individual as irrelevant to the ongoing investigation. The search for Jay has now concluded, but police are continuing to look into his last known movements and why he travelled to a location so far from his accommodation. In the States, the state governors who met with President Biden last night say he's fit for office and he has their backing. The president faced a grilling at the meeting of Democratic governors, which many saw as a test of his ongoing support within the party. Among those signalling their support was the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, who some see as an alternative for the Democratic ticket. But the United Front, among many of those in attendance, unsettled some, with reports suggesting there was little effort to gauge the group's private degree of support for the president. Politics professor Scott Lucas says the coming days will be crucial.
Tomorrow he has a rally in one swing state, in Wisconsin. On Sunday he has a rally in another swing state, which is Pennsylvania. If Biden can make it through that interview and those rallies and instill some confidence, then maybe he stays in the race. But if Biden stumbles in any of those appearances, then I think next week is the critical time when you will see, not publicly, but privately, the pressure build on him to leave gracefully for the sake of America, given the threat of Donald Trump.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump claims President Biden is quitting and believes he'll face Kamala Harris at the US election. In a video posted to social media, the former president can be seen in a golf buggy speaking to an unidentified person. Despite the White House insisting President Biden will remain in the race, Mr. Trump can be heard saying they've just announced he's quitting, though it's unclear what the claim is based on.
Quitting the race. Is that right? Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. But can you imagine that guy dealing with Putin and the president of China, who's a fierce person? He's a fierce man, a very tough guy. And they see him, they can't. But they just announced he's probably quitting. Good. Very good. Yeah,
in other news, Royal Navy warship HMS Trent is being deployed to the Cayman Islands to offer support following the devastation from Hurricane Beryl. It's understood the offshore patrol vessel will arrive in the Cayman Islands this weekend, where crew will be ready to help communities affected by flooding and storm damage. The hurricane could bring winds of more than 155 miles per hour. At least 6 people are known to have been killed in Grenada, Venezuela and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The storm was expected to be close to major hurricane strength when it passed over Jamaica yesterday. And a new Superman film, currently in production, is welcoming a familiar face as the world's first superhero prepares for liftoff.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me! Who's got you?
It's been nearly half a century since Christopher Reeve first took flight in a thrilling Hollywood epic that proved comic books could bring in a serious box office. Now, after several false starts, Warner Brothers is working on recapturing the iconic character's golden age with a new film. And they've enlisted the late Christopher Reeve's own son, the television journalist Will Reeve, who'll make a cameo appearance in the upcoming blockbuster. The new Superman, which stars David Corenswet as the Man of Steel, is due for release in July next year. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler, more in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello, welcome back. 13:08, Ben and Emily with you on Good Afternoon Britain. Now, my hero, Andy Murray, he's back in action after pulling out of the Wimbledon singles. The two-time champion is pairing up with his brother Jamie in the doubles this afternoon before, get this, also very excited about this one, before joining up with former US Open champion, fellow Brit Emma Raducanu at the weekend.
It's all very exciting. It's all heating up at Wimbledon. So let's cross over to our very own Olivia Hartley, who is basking. She's basking in the South London sun. Is that so, Olivia?
I reckon he flagged it.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful here. Not too hot either, which is pretty nice too. And it is a really big, exciting day in British tennis. We've got Fernley kicking things off, British Fernley against Djokovic on court 1. That's at 1:30. Then, of course, we've got the big thing, which is Andy Murray playing doubles with his brother Jamie in what might be his last ever match at Wimbledon. He had to pull out of the singles because he had an operation on his back not very long ago, and his fitness just wasn't up to it, but he is playing in the doubles today. Everyone is really, really excited about that. I spoke to some punters a little bit earlier. Here's what they had to say.
I think he should keep going until he can't. Look, he's got the willpower, so he's good for trying. Who knows? You never know. He might get lucky. He might get further than you think.
I think he made a good decision to play the doubles and be here.
Maybe go out on a high, you know, the doubles. I think he's playing the mixed doubles as well. Probably with his fitness level, he just didn't have enough for the singles, and that's why, you know, he opted out of the singles. But I think he's got every chance in the doubles.
So everyone here really, really excited about Andy Murray, thrilled to be seeing the legend play in action, possibly for the last time at Wimbledon. The other excitement, of course, is Emma Raducanu, who is playing at the weekend in those mixed doubles with Andy Murray. She absolutely stormed through her first round match yesterday against her Belgian opponent. She won 6-2, 6-1 in just 75 minutes. And that is a really big comeback for her. Obviously, since she won the US Open back in 2021, she's really struggled with injury, with fitness. She was down at number 301 in the world. She now looks set to enter the top 100 again for the first time in quite a few years, and she really was on fantastic form yesterday. So that does feel like another big, big excitement for Britain. And as if that wasn't enough, you've got Jack Draper, up-and-coming British star, just 22 years old, playing Cameron Norrie, also British, today on court 1 a little bit later on.
Battle of the Brits. Looking forward to that, Olivia. Thank you so much. One quick question. Have you had your strawberries and cream yet? I'm still itching to know.
Still no strawberries and cream. I can't get inside, so I might have to go to Tesco and get myself some.
You'll have to get a punter to bring you some out. You can't be at Wimbledon without having strawberries and cream. We'll come back to you later. Thanks, Olivia.
Thank you, Olivia. Well, in the studio with us now is GB News sports presenter Paul Coit, who joins us. Paul, yes. Now, before we get into everything, you had an interesting comment, didn't you, Ben?
Oh, I had an email from a viewer. So we were talking earlier about how competitiveness and drilling it into your kids and, you know, being a pushy father.
OK.
And I said that my boy Jude, we had a very fun tennis tournament with other parents, and we didn't win, mostly because I let the other team win, because I wasn't... I could have won if I wanted, but...
Of course you could.
It was a friendly game, anyway.
Could have won it.
I could have let them win, I just want you to know like that.
And at the end, Jude was so upset, he refused to have a group picture to celebrate the day, refused to take a chocolate from the coach. He stormed out. And Graham, you have said, my lad would have gotten a clip around the ear if he'd lost a tennis game like Ben's son, and then refused to be a good sport about it and take part in the group photo. He knows that behaviour is not acceptable. Graham, to ease your concerns, I gave him a rollicking for it. But I do like his essence of competitiveness.
Yeah, it seems that this is where we are. It's you need to have that competitiveness to win, to be a professional. That needs to be there. But also, it's a very fine line as well, because, like you say, you need to be a decent sport about it as well. So, I'm not one of the that's it. You know, you win at all costs. I'm not. I don't have that in that. But then again, my son is not going to be a professional sports person.
It's hard to lose when you're a child. It's very hard to lose. Oh, I remember games of Trivial Pursuit that ended in tears. Flipped boards.
It's been a few of
Monopoly,
those.
money everywhere, chessboards, you know, over.
Silence when
tennis
the
rackets.
rules have to be looked at to every nth degree. It's Christmas evening, it's 10 o'clock. Hold on, this is not what it says in the rules. You can,
Tennis rackets, you know, across the court.
Can you imagine what it's like at Christmas at the Murray's house then? Can you imagine what that's like?
Oh, my goodness.
Can you imagine if they play Cluedo?
Fireworks.
I know, it would be. But listen, as far as Wimbledon goes today, there was one that I know Olivia is extremely busy there and mentioning all the excitement that's going on. But Katie Boulter versus Harriet Dart, that's something where if we look at the time now, so it's after 1 o'clock, that's the first game on centre court, and we've got the British #1 against the British #2, and they are so alike because they're both 27 years old. They're actually born within 4 days of each other, and they've gone through the ranking right from the bottom right up to now being #1 and #2. So that's going to be a huge game.
I saw Casey training at Eastbourne. Was it last week or the week before in the tournament in the run-up to Wimbledon? She looked very good, on form. It looks really, really fantastic.
She won an ATP, a WTA title recently, and she a huge Leicester City fan as well.
Oh, is she?
Leicester, huge Leicester City fan.
Oh, that's a shame. We can't all be perfect.
Well, there you go.
What about
anyway,
the football?
Harry against Harry
The football. Switzerland, England. What's happening?
Do you want me to tell you whether we're going to win?
Yeah.
This is the thing. I don't know. We spoke to Ramon Vega, former Swiss defender and captain just a couple of hours ago, who's extremely confident about Switzerland. This is the first time, I think, that I can ever remember that England are going to play Switzerland and go in as underdogs, because everybody seems to think Switzerland are going to win this game, which goes... I mean, if you look at the evidence and look at how England have been playing, it's not really a surprise. But the big news, which is all over the papers today, and this is the word that we're getting out of Germany as well, is that he's going to change the defence to go to 3 at the back instead of 4, which basically means it's going to be more attacking. We expect that the shackles are going to be taken off a little.
Brilliant.
Because we've got amazing players, but they're not playing together as a team.
No.
You look at Switzerland, and it's all about the sum of their parts, etc. And the thing is, England seem to be the opposite of that, because if it was the sum of the parts, and then they should be amazing. But they seem to be lesser when you see them together, when you see the amount of talent that's on show. Whereas Switzerland don't have the talent that we have, but they're playing extremely well as a team. It's like Austria as well.
I think Southgate's time is ticking.
There's no doubt about that.
We should have won the Euro 2020 final,
which went to penalties, of course.
We should have at least got to the World Cup final.
Yeah.
We lost against Croatia. We were in that final, the Euros. We went 1-0 up, and he panicked. He parked the bus for 90 minutes. It was atrocious. We did the same against Slovakia the other night.
Well, this is what we're seeing.
I think he's been found out, and I think
this is what we're seeing. We're trying to work out whether this is actually Gareth Southgate or whether this is the players. When England go 1 up, you expect, oh, we're going to go on, we're going to get another one, but then. See, the thing is, you've also got to look at the other side as well, because they're probably cautious about when they play England, whoever it is, and if they're 1 down, of course, they need to score, so they're going to go forward. So there's a bit of, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But I'm afraid I'm with you that Gareth Southgate is the one that's calling the tune here. So I think that he now knows that he has to roll the dice.
He's properly getting a kicking, isn't he, this tournament?
Yeah, but you know what happens, though, it's 3 games. 3 games. If England win the next 3 games, they win the Euros. So even if they play not the way we'd want and then win, he comes back a hero.
I'm hopeful, but then I always am.
But the problem is...
You've got to be hopeful.
You've got to be hopeful.
Absolutely.
Why not?
It's the hope that kills you, Emily. That's the whole problem.
In the end.
If he was like Jose Mourinho in his prime at Chelsea, 1-0, park the bus, you could maybe forgive it. But he's playing like that, and then we're drawing or scraping wins or losing finals you should have won. So.
And you look at the talent that England have, and that is forward players, strikers. We've got we've got midfielders. We've got fantastic footballers that are great going forward. Quick football, but it seems to be, I think everybody's seeing, it's boring, they're staking, it's like they're walking along, pass back to you, pass back to me, OK, maybe we'll get it forward. It needs to be quicker.
Paul, it's all
going
to change this weekend.
It's all going to change this weekend.
Emily.
That's exactly
thank you very much indeed.
It's a pleasure. It's going to be thoroughly boring. Don't watch it. Saturday 5's on GBNews at the same time, so forget the football. It's going to be lovely.
And there's going to be a press conference in an hour's time, actually, an England press conference, that is. But in other news...
President Joe Biden, across the pond, he insists he's not dropping coming out of the US presidential race. It comes after a video of Donald Trump, the former president, claimed Biden had secretly quit. The former US president, Trump, he was caught on camera saying he thinks Kamala Harris will be the Democrat nominee. She, of course, is the current vice president.
How does he have time to be out and about, you know, playing golf?
Yeah.
You know,
He's
why
famous
not?
for his love of golf.
Anyway, the White House press secretary has hit back at all the speculation, adding that the president is clear-eyed and is staying in the race.
OK, we're joined now by political psychologist Dr Jan Halper-Hayes, who also served as part of Donald Trump's transition team and 2020 campaign. Good morning, good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us. Let's have it out then. Let's be frank. Is Biden going to last the course? And is there an issue with his health, do you think? Or do we believe his excuses that he was just jet-lagged in that debate?
We have known for a long time that he has been suffering from dementia. It just seemed to have shown up markedly in this debate. Honestly, I was sad to see him that way.
The White House, of course, denies that. Denies he has any form of dementia.
Have I lost you?
No. Can you hear us, Dr. Jan? Can you hear us? I think we may have lost Dr. Jan Halper-Hayes there. We'll come back, hopefully.
So Dr. Jan was saying
have I lost you?
Yes, I think you have.
I can't
Sorry.
hear you.
That was a shame.
Yes, she was saying it's long been known, apparently, that Joe Biden has dementia.
The White House continues to deny it. The White House continues to deny it. But something that certainly people are talking about is his condition, his cognitive ability.
I guess the problem for the Democrats is who would replace Biden if it came to it. Of course, Kamala Harris, the vice president, has been mooted. I think there's better options because she has been notably absent over the past 4 years. She's not really done anything of note. I think first port of call, you'd look to the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, who, I mean, I went to San Francisco a few years ago, and to say that place is a bit of a dump is an understatement, but he is...
Sorry if you're out there.
He is revered by Democrats. He looks the part and he speaks well. He could potentially be a replacement.
And Trump is polling higher. Trump is polling higher. It's difficult not to feel sorry, almost, for President Joe Biden at this stage. It is very difficult for him to continue with this campaign. It's clear to see now. It's not controversial to say. I mean, stumbling over words, forgetting his trail of thought, talking about things that appear to be nonsensical.
We saw at the D-Day commemorations when Jill Biden, his wife, had to guide him away. There was the parachutist who came in, all the world leaders there. Was that the G7? Maloney, Justin Trudeau, etc., all applauding this parachutist who was coming in. Joe Biden, meanwhile, let's see if we can get the clip a bit later, but Joe Biden turns around and starts wandering off and clapping into thin air and grinning like a Cheshire cat.
And it's not as though Donald Trump is a spring chicken either.
No, he's not as bad as Biden.
Sometimes his speeches go off on all directions. But yes, Joe Biden, what is the Democrat campaign going to do about this? Because it's not going away. Will they end up ousting him, removing him, putting someone else in there?
Biden, as a narrator, I think Trump is years ahead of Joe Biden in terms of just being able to communicate. I mean, he's doesn't use auto cue.
Yeah.
He can fire off the hip. I mean, he's infamous for that, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, some people, with regards to Joe Biden, some people call it elder abuse.
Pardon?
Some people call it elder abuse. Continually allowing him to be out there.
It does look like that at the moment. I mean, the whole world can see that Joe Biden does not appear to be in peak condition, let's say, and sometimes it does just feel a bit cruel. Which isn't a very nice way to think about the leader of the free world, is it?
No, but I think his time is ticking.
His time is numbered. Anyway, coming up, we're going to be discussing the backlash against what's being described as a regressive campaign. Oh, sorry, we've just got some breaking news just in. A 30-year-old teacher, Rebecca Joynes, has been sentenced to 6.5 years after she was found guilty for 6 counts of engaging in sexual activity with a child.
GB News North West of England correspondent Sophie Reaper has the story.
You are under arrest at the moment on suspicion of sexual activity with a child.
A maths teacher at a school in Greater Manchester, Rebecca Joynes was in a position of trust, a position of power. She chose to abuse that power. In May, a jury at Manchester Crown Court heard details of how she had groomed 2 teenage boys in her class. The first of which, boy A, she took shopping and bought him a belt worth £350. She then took him back to her flat where they had sex twice. Joins denied it, but his semen was later recovered from her bedsheets. The jury later heard that while suspended from her job, Joins then began a sexual relationship with another teen, boy B. She would go on to become pregnant with the 16-year-old. In a letter to the teenager, she said, "Every inch of you is perfect. You are all I ever dream about." The jury ultimately found Joins guilty on 6 counts of sexual activity with a child, 2 of which whilst in a position of power.
Rebecca Joins is a sexual predator. She was their teacher and they rightfully put their trust in her. But Joins decided to abuse her position and used it to groom 2 teenagers. We now wait for Joins to face the consequences of her actions.
Sophie Reaper, GB News.
Well, there you go, 6.5 years, the teacher, sexual activity with a child. We're going to be outside the Manchester Crown Court with Sophie Reaper very shortly, so stick with us, we'll find out more details.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
How deep is the rift between Prince William and Prince Harry? Well, it's been reported that Prince William is refusing to speak to Prince Harry and has even taken on the role of disciplinarian, which was once, of course, the job of Prince Philip. But has that job gone now to William?
After the death of his mother, I know that Prince William had to think again. And then we see him with the Emperor and Empress of Japan. And William thought again, do I want to do this job? Because there's nothing in our uncodified, unwritten constitution that says anybody has to be heir to the throne. And he thought about it. He was only 15 at the time. And he decided he did, and he's done his duty, in great contrast to Prince Harry. Now, I don't think there's any chance at all of there being a reconciliation with the brothers now or in the foreseeable future. It goes back to Oprah Winfrey interview, then the book Spare, and all the things that were said in the Netflix 6-part series. Too much bad blood, and William is not going to forgive that. Principally because he, of course, and his wife attacked personally his wife, Kate. And even when the announcement of her cancer was made, their mealy-mouthed response to it didn't show any great concern to her. Okay. Because William looks at them and he would say what most people would say. All of this is completely unnecessary. It is unnecessary. Prince Harry has had a wonderful, privileged life. He owes everything to being a member of the royal family. People who are struggling, people who are battling, would wonder why he's so upset.
The People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, welcome back to Good Afternoon Britain. It's now 1:27, and a reminder that the polling stations are open. They don't close until 10 o'clock. Get your voter ID ready if you haven't been already. But in other news, the Hurricane Beryl has hit the Cayman Islands after 145-mile-per-hour winds left parts of Jamaica without any power.
So Grenada was also hit hard by the storm, which killed at least 10 people across the Caribbean.
Some truly shocking images there that you can see. And this comes as Greece battles wildfires. Heavy lightning triggered 2 fires on the island of Thassos. Hundreds of tourists were evacuated from Kos over the weekend.
So I was in... so the big debate about this is going to be, is it climate change driven? Is it not? My family are Greek. They live on a Greek island. Every summer, from Lesvos, yeah. Oh. So every summer over in Greece and the Greek islands, especially on Lesvos, every summer is 38, 39, 40 degrees. In recent years, the last 5 years, any time we see these wildfires, and we've had them in Lesvos, people say, oh, it's climate change. It's climate change. We saw the same. I went to the Austrian Grand Prix over the weekend. It was 32, 33 degrees. In Vienna.
That's hot for Vienna, isn't it?
That was hot, yeah, granted. So that was hot for Austria. I think they'd never experienced temperatures like it at this time of year. And actually at the Grand Prix, by the track, there was no shade anywhere, so I had to fork out 70 quid.
That's why you've got such a tan.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah. If anyone's wondering why...
Making me look rather pasty.
Like Donald Trump this morning, it's because I was sat in 30 degree...
I'll have to slap on some fake tan tonight. But yes, truly shocking scenes, and of course the hurricane too. I remember when I was in south of France, actually, there was a fire nearby, and the planes were coming overhead to drop water to try and put out the flames. It got very terrifying, actually. It got rather close.
So is it climate change? Let's ask the Independent's travel correspondent Simon Calder. Simon, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. First of all, just run us through what's going on where and when in these different countries, with the islands in Greece. And is it climate change?
OK, well, if I may just run through what we're seeing here. I'm speaking to you from the beautiful Greek island of Zante, also known as Zakynthos, and it was Sunday night when we had the biggest wildfires. I've seen it as a patch probably about 500 metres square on a mountainside towards the north of the island, absolutely burnt through. But the Greeks were extremely good at dealing with it. What they've got is basically seaplanes which go and scoop up loads of water, fly 2 minutes to the hillside, drop the water and carry on like that. So that was fairly well subdued. Right across on the other side of Greece, very close to the Turkish coast, the islands of Chios and the island of Kos, we have seen some really more serious wildfires, to the extent that we saw an evacuation earlier this week of thousands of British holidaymakers in the resort of Cardamina in Kos, and they were basically sort of kept up all night, found a bit of room in a hotel lobby, given some breakfast, and then allowed back to their hotels. But it's really a dreadful situation. And of course, across in the Caribbean, we're seeing terrible devastation caused by Hurricane Beryl. Is it climate change? I don't know. It's certainly very alarming.
Yes, terribly alarming. We're just looking at footage there of the wildfires in particular, and a scene there of people being evacuated to what looked like a football pitch. People just sitting there on the grass, I guess, waiting it out. Do we know how much destruction there's been? Has there been destruction of private property, or just the wildlife and the nature?
Yeah, it is. I think mostly just wildlife, and we've seen precautionary evacuations. Now, that's critical because, of course, it was last July we saw, really at the start of the main school summer holidays, at least for people in England and Wales, on the island of Rhodes, we saw absolutely massive wildfires tearing down from the hills in the centre of the island down towards the east coast, causing a vast amount of destruction and being extremely scary for a lot of people who were staying there. They were evacuated, but it was very, very messy, very disjointed. And I think these civil protection authorities are really just trying to get ahead of this. But, yeah, we've had the Prime Minister, Mitsotakis, saying this week, we've got to get used to this and we've got to get better at handling it.
Simon, if anyone's booked a holiday to mainland Greece or the Greek islands, or they're thinking of doing so, what would your advice to them be?
Well, you kind of know what you're getting. It's not quite yet the peak season for extreme heat or for the potential of wildfires yet. We're still in the first week of July, of course, but if you were going to a resort that was closed because of a wildfire, then the holiday company really has to offer you a refund. We have actually seen a few people who were booked to travel out to Cartagena and Kos being told, sorry, your holiday's off, but flights still going in and out, and you haven't actually got any legal rights to change at the current situation. What you could do is have a word with the holiday company and say, look, I've just been seeing on the GB News, I was seeing all these fires, I'm a bit worried about it. Can you send me sort of somewhere, like Portugal, where you've got the Atlantic breezes and hopefully on the Algarve you won't see too many problems, but it's entirely at their discretion.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Simon Calder. Always fantastic to speak to you, a travel correspondent, of course, at The Independent.
I love how Simon stays true to his name. Whenever we speak to him, he's on some yacht somewhere or some fantastic holiday island. He's never, just in his house in Slough. Not that he lives in Slough, but, he's always living up to his name.
He's still there while we're talking about him.
Sorry, Simon. Talking about you in third person.
Bye, Simon. Have a lovely afternoon. Anyway, coming up, we'll be live outside Manchester Crown Court because a 30-year-old teacher, Rebecca Joins, has been sentenced to 6.5 years. We'll let you know the details of your headlines with Sophia.
Emily, thank you. It's 1:34. I'm Sophia Wensler in the GB newsroom. A former school teacher has been jailed for 6.5 years for engaging in sexual activity with a child. Rebecca Joins, who's 30, had sex with 2 teenage schoolboys after grooming them from the age of 15. She was on bail for one offence when she committed a second offence with another boy with whom she had a child. Polls are open across Britain as millions of people cast their votes to choose the next government. The first voters were up bright and early as stations opened their doors at 7 o'clock this morning. They'll remain open until 10 o'clock tonight, giving a chance to around 46 million eligible voters to have their say on who forms Britain's next government. This is the first general election to require photo ID, and voters are being reminded to bring their driver's licence, passport or other ID, or risk being turned away. A woman has admitted to murdering her parents in June 2019. The bodies of John and Lois McCulloch were discovered by police at their daughter's house after concerns were raised over their welfare. Virginia McCulloch, who's 36, pleaded guilty today before being remanded in custody. Forensic police in Tenerife are focusing their efforts on an Airbnb property where missing teenager Jay Slater reportedly stayed before he vanished. It comes after one of the last people to see the 18-year-old insisted he was alive and well when he left his holiday rental to catch a bus back to his own accommodation. Police have described the individual as irrelevant to the ongoing investigation. In the US, state governors who met with President Biden last night say he's fit for office and he has their backing. The president faced a grilling at the meeting of Democratic governors, which many saw as a test of his ongoing support within the party. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler. More in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
And here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.2757 and 1.1813 euros. The price of gold is £1,849 and 35 pence per ounce. And the FTSE 100's at 8,253 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. It's going to be a breezy day, especially across the northwest, but there will be some sunnier spells across the south. However, to the north, where that windier weather is through the day, we've also got an occluded front, and that's going to bring some persistent heavy rain and showers, particularly to western areas of Scotland, but also into some northwestern areas of England and parts of Northern Ireland as well. Elsewhere, we should stay dry through the rest of the day. Mix of sunny spells, the longest-lived sunshine likely across southeastern areas, where the winds will be the lightest this afternoon, so highs of around 21 degrees here, but further north and west closer to the lower teens. So a fairly fresh feeling day, and some of those showers could turn quite heavy and possibly thundery. The winds will be particularly strong through this afternoon across western areas of Scotland. We could see gale force gusts and some very heavy bursts of rain. Down in towards parts of Northern Ireland, less of a risk of the heavier showers, but a mix of sunny spells and showers, and still pretty breezy here into this afternoon. The winds will slowly start to ease as we head into the evening further south. However, the next batch of rain is arriving from the west, so skies will cloud over across parts of South Wales and southwestern areas of England. And this is the next front arriving for Thursday and into Thursday evening and into Friday. It will bring quite a lot of wet weather to many central and southern areas of England and Wales. Further north, a continued risk of some heavy showers overnight. There will still be some clearer skies for some parts of Northern Ireland and Northern England. Here, temperatures could dip down into the lower single figures for some of us, but most of us, it will be a fairly mild start to the day. And as I said, it's going to be a damper day for southern and central areas. The rain will likely come and go. There could be a drier spell through the middle of the day, but we will see the return of that rain from the south and west once again into the evening. But in any sunshine, temperatures climbing to around 21 degrees, but for most of us, a little below par for the time of year.
The latest GB News travel.
Hello, good afternoon to you. I'm Jules Buckley. Let's start with big problems in West Yorkshire for the M62. The eastbound side is currently closed from junction 29 to 30. That's Lofthouse to Rothwell. Long queues at the scene of an ongoing police incident. This means the A61 Leeds Road is also closed. Anti-clockwise M60 from the East Lancs Road 14 to Worsley at 13 queuing, though the earlier breakdowns cleared. All the lanes are back open. In Powys in Mid Wales between Abermule and Garthmill, the A483 closed at the moment for emergency water main repairs. 2 lanes shutting queues northbound for the M6 at the M5 for junction 8. Heavy back towards West Bromwich on the M5 junction 1. It's all due to an overturned vehicle there, and back towards the M6 at Grey Bar junction 7. The queues there too.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Well, a very good afternoon, Britain. It is, what's the time? 1:40. 1:40. Thank you very much.
Getting there.
Well, let's get more on the news that 30-year-old teacher Rebecca Joines has now been sentenced to 6.5 years after she was found guilty for having sex with 2 pupils.
Let's cross live to GB News North West of England reporter Sophie Reaper, who's outside Manchester Crown Court. Sophie, what's the latest?
Well, Rebecca Joines sat in the dock today as she awaited her fate here at Manchester Crown Court. This morning, the court heard a victim impact statement read out on behalf of boy B, whom had a sexual relationship with Joines lasting around 18 months and starting while he was just 15 years old in his GCSE year at the school where Rebecca Joines had been teaching. Now, the statement outlined difficulties faced by boy B. He's now 18 years old, but has been afforded lifelong anonymity. The statement recalled how when he'd originally given evidence, he was still in love with Rebecca Joines. He said, "I was in total denial. I felt as though I had betrayed someone I loved. I was coerced and controlled and sexually abused." He also said how it was difficult to co-parent alongside Rebecca Joines. She, of course, became pregnant with him during the course of their relationship, ultimately having the baby. He said it was difficult to have a child with his abuser. He said, "Our child comes home smelling of their mum. This completely freaks me out," and that the child now will not have their mum present like a normal child should. At the mention of their child they have together, together, Rebecca Joins in the dock began to sob silently into a tissue. Now, after a short break, the sentencing officially began. Rebecca Joins in the dock standing as she heard the sentence passed by Judge Kate Cornell. The judge told her, "You brought this on yourself," stating both boys were very much victims. They were vulnerable to advances from an older and attractive woman. The judge then passed that sentence across those 6 counts that Rebecca Joins was found guilty of in May of this year. She passed 6.5 years across those all those 6 counts, telling her she would spend half of that time in prison and then would be let out for the other half on licence. She also told her that the time she had already spent in custody would count towards that sentence. As that sentence was passed, Rebecca Joins in the dock, crying as she was stood there. Her father, just beyond the glass, also incredibly moved by the fact that his daughter will now be spending half of 6.5 years in prison and the other half out on licence. Joins crying as she was then taken away to begin serving that sentence.
Okay, Sophie, thanks very much for that. For me, Emily, the worst part of this story is the fact that she made a father of a young boy and stripped him of the magic and the love that that process should normally bring. When you become a father or a mother or a parent, you should be with someone you love, you've been with for a while, ideally, you know, a friend. You're a friend with your lover and your partner. And the fact that she just had a kid with a kid, for me, is the worst part of that.
And that trust you're supposed to have in that relationship with a teacher. It's a truly shocking case when you hear of these stories of teachers abusing their position as if a school is somewhere to meet.
Do you think
meet a partner, sexual partner?
That there's an argument from some quarters that because it's a female teacher, not a male, that it's slightly different. Maybe, you know, I don't agree with this at all, but some have said that, you know, it's every teenager's dream to have, you know, they fancy their teacher. Is there any difference?
Yeah, I just think that's totally wrong. I think, you know, boys just as much as girls can be groomed, can be then abused, can have their relationships taken advantage of. Truly shocking, but there you go, 6.5 years for sexual activity with a child. But on the way, we're going to be discussing a study which has found that a commonly known and used weight loss drug may be linked to a condition that can cause blindness.
I think I can guess which drug it is, but we'll find out after the break. Stick with us. This is Good Afternoon Britain. Back in a tick.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
In World War I, 309 men from Britain and the Commonwealth never came home because they'd been shot at dawn. The majority were killed for desertion, cowardice and sleeping at post. Appearing at their court-martials and told they'd brought shame on their country, these men had no opportunity to defend themselves and were executed by a firing squad. The National Memorial Arboretum launched a fundraising campaign to restore the memorial, which has stood for more than 20 years.
Thank you to your viewers for their support for the fundraising campaign. And thanks to the generosity of so many people, we've been able to replace all 309 of the posts that represent those young men that were shot in the First World War, restoration of this really precious memorial.
The centrepiece of the memorial is the young soldier, blindfolded and facing his execution. In September 1916, Private Harry Farr was ordered to the front. Already suffering from shell shock, he was overwhelmed and refused his orders. He was court-martialed, and in a trial lasting only 20 minutes, he was sentenced to death. On the day of his execution, he faced the firing squad without a blindfold. Janet Booth is Private Farr's granddaughter and was part of the public campaign to have those who were shot at dawn officially pardoned.
When I asked my gran, do you know where I could find Harry's grave? And she looked at my mother and there was this sort of look between them, and then she said, well, he hasn't got a grave because they didn't warrant, he deserved one because he was shot as a coward and had let his country down. We can come here as a family and pay our respects to him, and also for all the other families, it's somewhere to come and remember their loved ones.
The People's Channel.
This election night, we're putting on a party.
and you are invited.
We'll be here with you,
Following all the twists and turns.
as well as all the live reaction from our election night watch party.
With our GB News lineup.
And as morning breaks, we'll be here with breakfast from 6 a.m.
As it becomes clear who the winners and the losers really are.
Vote 2024.
Thursday, the 4th of July.
Only on GB News, Britain's election channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Right, 1:48 is the time. Good afternoon, Britain. Now, slimmers have been warned that weight loss jabs could trigger a worrying eye condition causing blindness.
So, semaglutide, available as the brand name Ozempic and, how do you say that? Wegovy, sorry. He said I've used them. Had been hailed as a monumental breakthrough in the war on obesity, but experts in the United States have now warned that people with diabetes prescribed these drugs were 4 times more likely to be diagnosed with the worrying eye condition.
Ah, interesting. So it's people with diabetes rather than those necessarily just using it for weight loss. Anyway, let's find out. Let's now speak with pharmacist and health expert Thorin Govan. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Explain this story to us, because everyone seems to now know someone who's using this drug to lose weight. It's widely available. How strong is this link now between blindness?
OK, so they've been linked to an eye condition that can cause blindness. And let me just get into that eye condition. It's non-arthritic anterior ischemic optic neuropathy, which is a mouthful. So we'll shorten that to NAION. And this is a study that's looked into it. And it found that those who were overweight or obese who were prescribed the drugs were more than 7 times as likely to develop the condition as those on other weight loss medications. Now, I think we need to look at this in the context that it is. With any medication, as we start to use it, as it gets a bit older, we learn more about the drug. And we're always balancing the risk of prescribing a medication versus the reward, so to speak. But I think really at this stage with these studies, we need to sort of take them into account and ensure that we're having discussions with healthcare professionals and with our healthcare professionals if we're taking them. And I wouldn't advise anyone to just be stopping them if you are prescribed them.
And Thorin, just explain about Ozempic. We hear about it everywhere. I mean, I've met loads of people now using the drug and it's worked wonders for a lot of them. Is it available on the NHS? Can you get it privately? I mean, it must be legal, I guess. Just explain for us the state of play.
OK, so we've got Ozempic and we've got Wegovy. And Ozempic is licensed to treat diabetes. Wegovy is to help with obesity. But they contain the same active ingredient, which is semaglutide, and they obviously impact your weight. So what we are saying to patients is please make sure that you only get these from a regulated source, only from and only speak to a regulated healthcare professional, because what we do know is that people are trying to access these from social media marketplaces and other sources. So please only take them as prescribed.
And so this link between the drug and a potential eye condition that can cause blindness, is it not the diabetes itself that might make you more likely to get that eye condition?
So I think we've got to think about diabetes as a condition. It can have an impact on all of your organs. So I would be taking that into account. In terms of these studies, what we're saying is we need to have more studies to look into this. And we need to obviously do more investigation. But for patients who are taking this drug right now, I will be saying, if you are concerned, have a consultation with your healthcare professional, explain to them your concerns and discuss this with them in your context, because it's all very well one study some studies. It was a 6-year study, and it was relatively small. We need to look at how your condition as an individual, and I always say to people, it's about quality of life, isn't it? Whenever we're taking medications, and also even with our intake of food, please don't think these are a quick fix drug. You've got to be doing those lifestyle, you're looking at your lifestyle, the diet, the exercise as well.
OK, pharmacist and health expert Thoran Govin, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Let's go to the US now, where Donald Trump claims President Joe Biden has secretly quit the campaign.
Yes, it's all in a leaked video. The former US president is caught insulting President Biden, saying that he thinks Vice President Kamala Harris will become the Democrat nominee. OK, well, let's get the lowdown now in the US with our US correspondent Steve Edgington, who's in Washington, D.C. for us. Good morning, Steve. I think it's morning where you are. Good afternoon from our end. Joe Biden has admitted today he, quote, screwed up the presidential debate against Donald Trump last week. Some would argue he's been screwing up in that fashion for the last 4 years, no?
I don't think you can underestimate the impact that this debate had on American politics. It seems to have shaken up the presidential election campaign like no other debate has done in history. Joe Biden's performance was seen as so bad that he is now admitting that he really didn't have a great debate. They're blaming the fact that he maybe had a cold. He said that he had jet lag. But I think to many Americans, and this is what the Republicans are certainly saying, he certainly seems too old to be president. And there have even been reports in the New York Times that Biden has been discussing with allies that he may suspend his presidential campaign, he may step down. So Trump is seen in this leaked video caught on a golf course, where he's basically saying that President Biden, he's dropped out of the race, and his new rival will be Kamala Harris. And he's not very nice about Kamala. He says he thinks she's going to be a great opponent for him. She's so bad, she's so pathetic. And he uses some rather profane language as well. So I think this is typical Trump. The Democrats are trying to seize on this video, saying it shows how crass Donald Trump is. I think many voters in the US probably already know that the president, or former president, is pretty crass. So that's the latest of what's going on here in DC.
Very interesting. President Joe Biden, he's become a bit of a liability to the Democrats' chances. Why do you think he's lasted this long? Why hasn't he been, quietly removed?
I think there's a real loyalty in the Democratic Party to their president. I think that many people have overlooked some of his gaffes on the world stage and sort of hoped that perhaps he is still there mentally, but sometimes he stutters or sometimes he just has a bit of a mix-up. I think now it's got to the point where the American people saw the state of the president's mind on this debate stage. And I think the Democrats are really starting to worry and panic. And the problem they've got is, who do they replace Biden with? Is it Kamala Harris, who polls even worse in some cases than Biden does against Trump? She's seen as inauthentic and strange. She's not a great media performer. Is it Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, a very charismatic man, but he has governed over a state which has huge issues with homelessness, with crime, deficits and so on? Or is it maybe Michelle Obama? She's the one who polls best against Donald Trump and is seen as probably the Democrats' best weapon to win in November. So I think the Democrats have a real problem discussing who they can replace Biden with.
OK, Steve, lots of twists and turns to come. No doubt we'll catch up with you very shortly. Steve Edgington in Washington, D.C. Thank you.
Good stuff. Now, a few moments ago, we were discussing weight loss drug, and a spokesman for Novo Nordisk, which makes Wegovy and Ozempic, said there were limitations to the study, adding patient safety as a top priority for Novo Nordisk. And we take all reports about adverse events from use of our medicines very seriously. None is not listed as a known adverse drug reaction in the summary of product characteristics for the marketed formulations of semaglutide for type 2 diabetes and Wegovy for weight management as per the approved labels. There you go. There you go.
How are you feeling after that?
I said it a little bit too quickly, actually.
Would you like some water? Didn't
need to rush it.
It's a very long statement, very long statement. Some of the things we have to do, unfortunately, to give balance and the other side of things, but we always strive to do that, of course. Interesting, Steve Edgington saying that the Democrats always support their president, but the New York Times, the Washington Post, left-leaning MSM newspapers, all now leaking stories about the fact that Biden could potentially be on the way out. But anyway, lots more to come and good afternoon, Britain, not least a petition to strip Prince Harry of an award. Back in a sec.
£30,000 in tax-free cash really could be yours. It's our biggest cash prize of the year so far, and you could be getting that winning call from us to tell you that you're our next Great British Giveaway winner.
You're joking. Really? Seriously? It's not a wine, what is it?
Oh, slipping neck. Oh dear.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock. Like I said, I've never won anything like this. That is absolutely fantastic.
We're to the moon. Thank you.
For a chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
GB News is Britain's election channel.
And when the big stories break, we're tackling them on Britain's newsroom. When we disagree, and we disagree a lot, it's even livelier than normal.
We don't disagree that much.
We do. His comedy, though, is revolting. I knew her, unlike you. That explains Beverly Turner's temperament.
It's a bit frosty in here, isn't it?
You'll have one of me one day.
For dartball practice. Britain's newsroom on GB News. Weekdays, 9:30 a.m.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes, she could have said Storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 2 o'clock on Thursday, the 4th of July. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Ben Leo. Very good afternoon to you.
Now, it's all a bit awkward for Prince Harry as tens of thousands sign a petition to stop him receiving a sports award for veterans.
And it's the 4th of July, so we'll be heading stateside for the latest on President Joe Biden's future. Apparently, Vice President Kamala Harris is a favourite to replace him. We're joined by someone from Joe Biden's presidential campaign.
That'll be interesting. And it's a massive week for British sport. We'll be live at Wimbledon for the tennis. We'll be looking ahead to England's quarter-final against Switzerland at the Euros.
And of course, keep your views and comments coming in, gbnews.com/your say. Some of you saying we've not mentioned the Formula One. It's the British Grand Prix at Silverstone this weekend. I have, because I absolutely love Formula One. But we had Paul Coyte on in the last 2 hours, so we did mention it. But yeah, it's a big weekend for sport. We've got the F1, which I'm very excited about. England are playing Switzerland Saturday night.
Is there any cricket on?
I'm not sure. I could never get into cricket.
No?
What's your sport? You were a rowing lass, aren't you?
I was a ski champion.
Oh, OK. A champion?
Well, I competed in championships, I should say.
I've never skied.
And I did my knee in and gave it all up, you know.
Well, I think a good swap. You've got a glittering TV career. I've never skied. I went to Verbier once for a job for my old newspaper, but I had hip surgery and I couldn't ski.
Oh, no.
So the only chance I could get to ski, I took the ski lift up to the top.
Oh, wow. It's not quite the same as, you know, carving it out.
No.
That's why they call me Emily Carver.
There we go. How many times have you
carving out the slalom?
How many times have you dropped that joke?
That's the first time, Ben, just especially for you, seeing as you're presenting with me. It doesn't happen very often.
Thank you.
That you're here in this seat with me, so there you go. But yes, so much sport. You were in Vienna for the Grand Prix.
Yeah, I was at the Austrian Grand Prix. I was there when Max Verstappen crashed, or Norris crashed, depending on which side of the argument you're on, into each other. Actually, the first 40 laps of that race, it was so boring, and F1 these days can be like this. It was so boring, I went to lie down. I got my £70 umbrella that I bought to shield me from the sun, lay down for 40 laps. I got up and I timed it divinely.
Divinely?
Went over to my friends and said, anything going on? And at that very moment, that's when all the drama started.
Well, you know, one of the England matches was on our wedding day. So there were quite a few people with their phones having a little look, which I don't mind. You know, it's an important match. England-Slovakia, wasn't it?
How was your wedding day? Was it good?
Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. But let's get the headlines with Sophia.
Emily, thank you. Good afternoon from the GB newsroom at 2:02. Your top story this hour. A former school teacher has been jailed for 6.5 years for engaging in sexual activity with a child. Rebecca Joins, who's 30, had sex with 2 teenage schoolboys after grooming them from the age of 15. She was on bail for one offence when she committed a second offence with another boy with whom she had a child. Parents of both of her victims watched as she broke down in tears while her sentence was read out at Manchester Crown Court. Polls are open across Britain as millions of people cast their votes to choose the next government. The first voters were up bright and early as stations opened their doors at 7 o'clock this morning. They'll remain open until 10 o'clock tonight, giving a chance to around 46 million eligible voters to have their say on who forms Britain's next government. But this is the first general election to require photo ID, and voters are being reminded to bring their driver's licence, passport or other ID, or risk being turned away. A woman has admitted to murdering her parents in June of 2019. The bodies of John and Lois McCulloch were discovered by police at their daughter's house after concerns were raised over their welfare. Virginia McCulloch, who's 36, pleaded guilty today before being remanded in custody. Forensic police in Tenerife are focusing their efforts on an Airbnb property where missing teenager Jay Slater reportedly stayed before he vanished. It comes after one of the last people to see the 18-year-old insisted he was alive and well when he left his holiday rental to catch a bus back to his own accommodation. Police have described the individual as irrelevant to the ongoing investigation. The search for Jay has now concluded, but police are continuing to look into his last known movements and why he travelled to a location so far from his accommodation. In the US, state governors who met President Biden last night say he's fit for office and he has their backing. The president faced a grilling at the meeting of Democratic governors, which many saw as a test of his leadership. Among those signalling their support was the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, who some see as an alternative for the Democratic ticket. Politics professor Scott Lucas says the coming days will be crucial.
Tomorrow he has a rally in one swing state in Wisconsin. On Sunday he has a rally in another swing state, which is Pennsylvania. If Biden can make it through that interview and those rallies and instill some confidence, then maybe he stays in the race. But if Biden stumbles in any of those appearances, then I think next week is the critical time when you will see, not publicly, but privately, the pressure build on him to leave gracefully for the sake of America, given the threat of Donald Trump.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump claims President Biden is quitting and believes he'll face Kamala Harris at the US election. Despite the White House insisting President Biden will remain in the race, Mr. Trump can be heard in a video posted online saying they've just announced he's quitting, though it's unclear what the claim is based on.
Quitting the race. Is that right? Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. But can you imagine that guy dealing with Putin and the president of China, who's a fierce person? He's a fierce man. A very tough guy, and they see him. They probably can't. But they just announced he's probably quitting. Good. Very good. Yeah,
Royal Navy warship HMS Trent is being deployed to the Cayman Islands to offer support following the devastation from Hurricane Beryl. It's understood the offshore patrol vessel will arrive in the Cayman Islands this weekend, where crew will be ready to help communities affected by flooding and storm damage. The hurricane could bring winds of more than 155 miles an hour. At least 6 people are known to have been killed in Grenada, Venezuela and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The storm was expected to be close to major hurricane strength when it passed over Jamaica yesterday. And a new Superman film currently in production is welcoming a familiar face as the world's first superhero prepares for liftoff.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me! Who's got you?
It's been nearly half a century since Christopher Reeve first took flight in a thrilling Hollywood epic that proved comic books could be a big success. Now, after several false starts, Warner Brothers is working on recapturing the iconic character's golden age with a new film, and they've enlisted the late Christopher Reeves' own son, the television journalist Will Reeve, who'll make a cameo appearance in the upcoming blockbuster. The new Superman, which stars David Corenswet as the Man of Steel, is due for release in July of next year. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler, more in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
(14:08) with Ben and Emily on Good Afternoon Britain. We have more doggy pictures, you'll be pleased to know. They've been flying in. This is Andrew with his dog Freddie outside the polling station. Again, what breed is that? Anyway, he looks cute. I don't know what breed it is, but he looks
It's cute, it's fluffy, it's got 4 legs. So there you go. Beautiful little dog. And we've got a picture of Andrew as well. So there you go.
Yeah, were you talking about the dog or Andrew then? He's cute, he's fluffy.
Both, of course. Eleanor's taken her poodle Teddy to the polls. Here he is, standing outside the red door, looking very gorgeous, looking very well behaved as well.
I bet he's hot in that black coat.
Yes, he could be quite warm, actually. The sun is clearly out wherever that is.
And what's next? We've got Audrey from Worthington. She leaves the polls with her dog, Ruby. Ruby looks very keen to get out of there.
Oh, they let you take the dog in. Some of the polling stations don't allow you to do that for some reason, only if it's an assistance dog. Some of the places, which I seem is a bit mean,
I love those dogs. Are they the Labs, the Labradors, the assistance dogs? The
yeah, they're usually Labradors, aren't they?
I love those.
Yeah.
Especially when they're puppies, the Andrex puppies.
Yeah, so you're allowed to bring your assistance dog, but not your cockapoo.
OK.
Or whatever else you've got.
Noted.
No pug in there.
I am more of a cat man, but, you know, OK.
I've never had a cat. But yes, royal news. A petition against Prince Harry receiving an award for his work with veterans has now reached over 50,000 signatures. We saw earlier, perhaps it's 60,000 now.
Yeah, lots of apathy for him. So the controversy is around the Duke of Sussex receiving the Pat Tillman Award for his work with the Invictus Games, which is typically given to individuals with, quote, strong connections to sport.
Yes, so Pat Tillman, a former American footballer, gave up his work in the sport to join the armed forces in the wake of 9/11, but he was very sadly killed in Afghanistan in 2004.
Yeah, and I think he was earning something akin to $3 million a year at the time as an NFL player, so it was a very big move for him to do that. So his mother, Mary, she believes that there are more deserving recipients of the award than the Duke, who is she describes him as controversial and divisive. Well, let's now speak to the former royal correspondent at The Sun, Charles Ray. Charles, good afternoon. Is that a fair assessment of our Prince Harry? He's controversial and divisive?
Well, he's certainly controversial and divisive, there's no doubt about that. But whether he deserves this award is a different kettle of fish. Now, I've been quite critical, particularly on GB News, of both Harry and Meghan, but you cannot take away from Harry the work he has done with the Invictus Games since 2014 when it was set up, and the very fact that he fits the criteria because he was a serving soldier and did 2 tours of Afghanistan. Now, that said, he fits the criteria for the award. I question as to why ESPN gave it to him. I suspect it's because they knew there was going to be controversy and therefore publicity for the award. And I've done some little bit of research, and 2 previous winners of the award, a guy called Jake Wood and Israel Del Toro, both support Prince Harry getting the award. Now, there is an argument that says, having set up the Invictus Games, it's got an organisation behind it, it's doing quite well. Why not give it to someone who's less well known, who's been doing this work selfishly behind the scenes. You know, it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. I think Harry would be best to sort of say at the end, look, thanks very much for this, but I cannot accept it. You have to give it to someone else.
I mean, you've given quite a lot of justification, though, for why he should receive the award in what you just said. Why do you think so many people have signed this petition? Why do you think there's such a level of, well, disagreement here, if not anger?
Well, what we don't know, Emily, is where the disagreement comes from. You know, is it America? Is it Britain? Is it other places in the world? Because it's on change.org or whatever it is. And I think it just goes to show that there is a lot of dissatisfaction with Prince Harry, particularly in America now, because they see him as entitled and not doing very much, which I think is a great shame. As I said right at the start, he is a hero, a soldier hero himself. There is no question about that. And he does deserve the award. But, you know, I question ESPN's decision to give it to him.
Charles, what's Harry, and Meghan as well, what's their plans for the imminent future in the US? Because there was some exclusive polling for the US publication Newsweek out, I think about 4 weeks ago, saying that Meghan was now as popular as King Charles. So, according to the Sussex squad, you know, the group we see online, they're incredibly popular. What plans have they got, do you reckon, in the coming weeks or months that we know of?
I think that Meghan is very, very popular with the Sussex squad, all 6 of them or whatever.
They'll be on your back now, Charles, for that. Careful.
But she's not. I cannot believe any poll or any survey that shows that she is as popular as the king. Certainly, it won't be a poll that's been done in this country. It may be done in America. Who knows? But you know what they're going to do in the future is the, you know, to use the old-fashioned phrase, $64,000 question, because they've been losing a couple of their contracts that they've got. They're still trying to pump up, you know, things that they've got, but we haven't seen anything. All the contracts that they had involved criticising the royal family and their time within the royal family. Now, once you've said all that, you can't keep going on about that. You've got to change the act a bit.
Yeah, I guess their problem is the only thing that really makes them special is their royal connection. And as you say, you can't keep milking that once you've revealed all the dirty laundry.
Right, Emily. If they were just plain ordinary Harry Wales and Meghan Wales, nobody would be really caring all that much what they get up to. You know, the fact that they've got a lot of money and they've got that royal connection is worth its weight in gold, as they have proved.
Yeah, but the problem is, Charles, I think they've spilled the beans. They've run out of ammunition on, you know, their dirty laundry when it comes to the royals. I mean, what else is there to say? But Charles Ray, former royal correspondent at The Sun, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to speak to you. Have a great afternoon.
And you.
Now, sports. From royals to sports. Yes, of course, the general election is on, but we can't talk politics. But there's lots of other lovely things to talk about, interesting things. Yeah. Andy Murray back in action after pulling out of the Wimbledon singles.
Yes, come on, Andy. The two-time champion is pairing with his brother Jamie in the doubles this afternoon before, and this will be great as well, joining up with former US Open champion Emma Raducanu at the weekend.
I loved mixed doubles.
Yeah.
I find it really fun to watch because women and men, they play differently, you know, complementary.
I don't think Emma's ever played, I mean, doubles before, let alone mixed doubles.
She must be nervous. She must be nervous. Should we cross over to Olivia Utley, who's still taking in the sun down in South London? Olivia, tell us what's on the cards today.
Well, it is a really huge day for British tennis. At the moment, kicked off at 1:30. There's a match going on between Fernley of Great Britain and Djokovic. Djokovic has just won the first set, but only 6-3, so it's not the end of the road for poor old Fernley, but up against, obviously, world number 3, back from surgery after just 3.5 weeks. Stormed through his first match on Tuesday, which I was lucky enough to see. Then, as you said, later in the day, there is the big attraction, which is Andy Murray's probably last ever match at Wimbledon. He's playing in the doubles with Jamie Murray, the men's doubles with Jamie Murray, his brother, a bit later this afternoon. We spoke to a few punters a little bit earlier about that match. Here's what they had to say.
I think he should keep going till he can't. Look, he's got the willpower, so he's good for trying. Who knows? You never know. He might get lucky. He might get further than you think.
I think he made a good decision to play the doubles and be here.
Maybe go out on a high, you know, the doubles. I think he's playing the mixed doubles as well. Probably with his fitness level, he just didn't have enough for the singles, and that's why, you know, he opted out of the singles. But I think he's got every chance in the doubles.
And then, of course, the other big excitement, as you mentioned there, is Emma Raducanu, who's back in the game after a long on and off period, out because of injury, out because of fitness issues, got down to number 301 in the world after making it, of course, to world number 1 when she won the US Open back in 2021. She is back on fantastic form, stormed through her first round match yesterday. She won 6-2, 6-1 in just 75 minutes. She'll be playing with Andy Murray in the mixed doubles. Also, of course, she'll be carrying on in the ladies singles, but that mixed doubles match is going to be fascinating. Raducanu has said that it's a childhood dream of hers to play mixed doubles with Andy Murray, but as you said there, Ben, she's very inexperienced when it comes to doubles. She's played one professional doubles match before and was knocked out immediately, but she is on fantastic form, so maybe it's going to be completely different this time around.
OK, Olivia Utley in Wimbledon. Enjoy the sunshine and the fun and the frolics, of course, as well. Emma Raducanu, Paul Coit is with us now.
Yes.
Emma Raducanu, I've been her biggest critic in recent years. She won the US Open.
Yep.
Amazing, out of nowhere. Everyone was so happy with her, you know, delighted. Then, as far as I was concerned, then she started doing these Vogue shoots and brand deals and, you know, maybe arguably concentrating more on the celebrity and the money than getting her head down. But now I'm happy to see her. Arguably, she's in great form in that first round match. She was great at Eastbourne the week before. Fingers crossed, she's shaken off all her...
She'll be pleased to hear that you're now behind her, I hear.
I'm sure she would, yeah.
Well, she's been waiting for that endorsement. She's been waiting.
She's now got your approval. The thing is, she was a kid. She's a teenager. She goes into the US Open. Let's not forget what happened in the Wimbledon before that. So it was just a few months before where she'd got through a few rounds and then her star started to rise. And people are thinking, who is this new young girl, this new British girl? And everybody put so much pressure on her. Then she got to the point where they put her on centre court. And if you remember, for the first time, they cancelled EastEnders. They said, we're not going to put EastEnders, we're going to put Emma Raducanu. So she played, and then she had to stop through breathing difficulties, as we well know, I think. And I'd said it at the time, and people were going, oh, no, it's not that. And she'd had a panic attack because it was so much for a youngster to take. So anyway, then she moved on from there, goes to the US Open, plays amazingly well. But she was lucky because the draw went with her. She never had to play anybody in the top 5, went right the way through and won that. Now, it's a really difficult place to go. So she's gone from nowhere to seemingly the best in the world to win the US Open, and then she started having injuries. She's had operations on wrists, on legs, on arms, you name it. She's had every operation. So finally, for the first time in 2 or 3 years, she's fully fit. Now, I mean, I know what you're saying, and I felt the same way. You think, this is just a flash in the pan. But I'm so glad that now we're seeing her play good tennis.
Do you know what? My thoughts on that isn't exclusive. I mean, that's quite a common theme.
No, you're not the only one.
John McEnroe said it. He said he didn't think Emma had the bottle to compete at the highest level, despite, of course, winning a Grand Slam. But, yeah, I mean, it's because people like me criticised her because we knew how good she is. Yeah. And I just wanted her at the time to focus more on... I mean, she changed coaches about 3 or 4 times.
A lot.
She focused too much, in my opinion, on the glitz and the glam and the brand deals.
I don't know. I mean, if Vogue comes up to you and says, you know,
Emily,
we'll pay you £1 million to just do a quick photo shoot.
Correct.
I mean, you'd be mad not to, wouldn't you?
You would, and I don't think... it's a matter of the balance. It's getting the balance right. Every single star going back to the 60s and 70s, look at Chris Evert, and then we've got Navratilova. We can think of all these great players. There's always going to be companies that are going to want you to publicise what you sell, and they'll offer a lot of money because they want you associated with that. Now, you're right to say how much of that affected her tennis. We don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know whether it truly did, because you can't say no, because all these opportunities are coming your way, but also concentrating on your tennis.
And they might not come next year.
Right. Of course they might.
Yeah. Should we, just quickly about the football, there's an England presser. What should we expect from that?
Well, I think what we're going to expect from that is Gareth Southgate talking a very good game, and you're not going to get anything out of the blue. There's nothing that's going to surprise you in it. But what may be a surprise, if anything, is the fact, and whether he's going to admit to this, is that it's going to change the defence, whether he's going to go to a back three instead of a back four, which is going to make it more attacking, which we hope happens. And maybe people like Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's actually going to make another appearance playing at right back, which is his proper position, instead of the experiment that was him playing in the midfield, which then didn't work. So that would be interesting to see. I don't think we're going to hear any fireworks. We're not going to hear anything out of the blue. Nothing's going to really surprise us. But if anything is going to be a slight surprise, is that maybe he'll go back on what he first thought and change the lineup.
Who do you reckon our best player has been? Oh, Jude?
I think...
Jude.
See, it's difficult to say. You've got big players that turn up at the right time. We've got Harry Kane scored, which he's there to do. Jude Bellingham... By the way, it was very moving. I was going to go, no, don't. But Jude Bellingham has been good. Who's the best? I think... Oh, my goodness me. It's really tricky to tell because there hasn't been any great starts.
I love Jude's passion. You know, when he scored that goal, he turned to the crowd and said, who else? Who else? There was a...
What, and then the grabbing of the crotch.
Yeah, I like that as well.
That was the thing which could have landed him in hot water.
That's fine. I like the passion because we've seen too many times in recent years.
He only mimicked it.
He
didn't actually grab the crotch.
Actually a full grab, it was a pretend of a grab.
Exactly. Nothing to see here, lads.
I think it was just a kid saying, cojones, that's what I've got.
Well,
That's
there
what
you
he's
go.
shown.
But you know what? It would be fantastic, if not more entertaining, really, to see them on the offensive. That would be great.
It ain't over yet. It's not over. Everyone's writing them off. It's not over yet. 3 games to win.
I don't know why we always write our team off too early, you know? As you said, hope, hope, hope.
It's the hope that kills you.
No, we don't need to say that either. Just hope. Hope and pray. We'll do very well. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Paul.
Coy. Always great to speak to you. Good stuff.
Right, coming up, we'll be heading stateside for the latest on President Joe Biden's future. Is he going to stand? Is he not? Is he going to be replaced? We're going to be joined by someone who may know best from his presidential campaign. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Stick with us. Back in a tick.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Question is...
Should our museums stay free for everyone and anyone, or should we be charging our tourists?
So many of the artefacts are from around the world, stolen actually. I think it's almost to add insult to injury to ask people to pay to see the artefacts that were taken without their permission. One of the things that the museum set itself up for is a kind of World Heritage where you can see the stuff they took from your country free of charge. Because the British state's willing to do that, is one of the reasons why we hold on to many of the artefacts from around the world instead of giving them back.
I mean, that's a noble argument, Wayman, but none of the other countries in the world that also contain artefacts from all over the world indulge in that, do they? We still have to pay to see anything that's come from the UK that might be overseas?
No, but the absolute truth is that we've stolen a lot more over many more years than anybody else. Because we're we had a very, very big empire, and during that time, taking things from other countries without their permission.
And I think our wonderful country, the United Kingdom, is the cradle of modern civilization, not of the ancient world, but of the modern world. You know, for centuries, we've contributed things to the world, which has spread out around the world, and the influence that we've put upon countries around the globe has been massively significant. I think it's a privilege for people to be able to come to this country and track the history of our country through our museums. I can't understand why they've ever been free. The upkeep of museums runs into hundreds of millions of pounds a year. Somebody's got to maintain them and keep them good. Somebody's got to go around the world and collect the artifacts which are in our museums. And I've always had the adage in life, if something is free, it's probably not worth having.
The People's Channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 2:26, and the US President Joe Biden has admitted he, quote, screwed up last week's debate against Donald Trump, but he vows to fight on in the election race, despite rumours swirling that he's given up.
It comes after a leaked video of Donald Trump has gone viral, where the former US president claimed Joe Biden had secretly quit and that Vice President Kamala Harris will become the new Democrat nominee.
Well, we're now joined by US senior political advisor Pablo Ohana, who's working on Biden's presidential campaign. Pablo, thank you very much indeed. How do you think it's going?
Well, listen, I think the elephant in the room of this debate, it was clear that the debate last week was a struggle and it wasn't Biden's best performance. But I think the thing to remember here is that this is not just about one debate or one election. This is about safeguarding a future where democracy, truth and justice are not at the mercy of Trump's division and falsehoods. So every action, every word, every vote counts. Conversations that entertain doubts about Biden serve Trump's campaign. Every word that doesn't actively support Biden helps Trump. Every time someone hurts Biden, they help Trump. It's that simple. And so that's where I stand on this.
OK, but Pablo, we can't, well, for Americans anyway, they can't have a situation where they're voting somebody in, really, who, I mean, let's just say it now, he is in cognitive decline, Joe Biden. You can't just vote for him and have him the leader of the free world because somebody doesn't like, you know, Orange Man Bad, who's done a few things that people don't like. I mean, for example, it's not just that debate we had with Trump last week that's been catching attention. He, I mean, in a litany of gaffes, falling up the stairs to Air Force One, confusing the American war in Iraq with the Russian war in Ukraine, confusing the All Blacks with the Black and Tans in Ireland. And we've got some footage now of the, well, now infamous incident at the G7 with all the world leaders where they're clapping a parachutist who comes down. Maloney's there, Trudeau, Rishi Sunak. Biden just wanders off and has to be escorted back. I mean, look, Giorgia Maloney here clocks in with Emmanuel Macron, has to escort him back. So I understand your argument that Donald Trump, in your opinion, you know, he's bad, we can't let him back in, he's a threat to democracy, allegedly. But surely we can't have your man as the leader of the free world in the states he's in.
Quite the opposite. In a lot of those clips, including the one you just saw, there is context on the outside you can't see. For example, you can just see at the end of that clip that he is actually speaking to someone off camera. There are an awful lot of clips like that that go around. I think we need to be really clear that there are things happening on the outside that you can't see there, and we can't
Pablo, sorry to interject. What about saying that his son Bo died in Iraq when nothing happened of the sort?
I think there are moments like this, and there are moments like that on Trump's side as well. I'm not going to argue that Trump. I mean, listen, Trump and Biden, in comparison to UK politics, it's extraordinary their ages. You know I totally accept. But in this debate, even in the context of what we're talking about here, and that, as I say, it was a slow start for Biden in that debate. But everything he said was true. And yes, there were a few stumbles, but he didn't lie to the nation. On everything from abortion to democracy, Trump is on the wrong side of history, on the wrong side of the facts. And we can debate all day about Biden, who, by the way, has a diagnosed speech impediment that we all tend to forget about. And he sounded a bit hoarse and he tripped up a few things. But the alternative is a 34-time convicted felon who lies for a living. He enjoys sowing division, he enjoys chaos, and is responsible for attack on American democracy, which, by the way, that doesn't matter just at home in the UK, but it matters around the world, of course, in the US as well. Sure. The contrast could not be clearer. It's
Pablo, you're putting up a good defence. Good on you. He's your man. But would you prefer, genuinely, to have a different candidate for the Democrats? I mean, lots of talk about Kamala Harris taking the job. What do you think? You must prefer to have someone perhaps a little younger, someone who doesn't have all these gaffes behind him.
Well, I would love for politics to be younger just in general. Someone like Kamala Harris, I think, is a fantastic candidate. Genuinely, I think she was an excellent pick for VP. I think actually she's been kind of overshadowed a little bit in her vice presidency, but I think she would be an excellent candidate if it went to that stage. I think at the moment, as they say, we have to rally around Biden. But if
She's not
Biden
very popular,
decides,
though, is she, Pablo?
well, she's a divisive person, but that's because she's a woman, you know, and the truth is...
You think it's because she's a woman? Seriously? In this day and age, you think it's because she's a woman?
Okay, let's be really, really clear about something here. In 2016, when Hillary Clinton entered the race, she was exceptionally popular, and then people decided that they didn't want that woman. They had no rationale for it. They were like, oh no, we're happy to have a woman in president.
Pablo, sorry to interrupt again.
Woman.
Hillary came a cropper because there was controversy over her 33,000 deleted emails, her links to Bill Clinton, of course, being her... his wife, the fact, you know, Benghazi, another litany of controversies behind her.
Something there. So the issue here was what? That Hillary Clinton had a husband and that she's responsible for his actions. They're totally different people.
Well, let's be honest, the Clintons don't...
Bill Clinton.
Pablo, the Clintons don't have a good reputation. Let's agree on that, at least.
Hillary Clinton is undoubtedly the most qualified person to have ever run for presidency.
So why did she lose then?
Well, for a number of reasons. One, Trump lied throughout the entire campaign. There was Russian interference. No, I'm sorry, these are absolutely proven facts.
There was no Russian interference. We know that Russian collusion hoax has been completely debunked. We know that.
No, it hasn't. There are conspiracy theories around Hillary Clinton's campaign which are overwhelmingly proven, backed up by evidence, and it is staggering. The root cause of women like Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton not being taken seriously is the fact that they are just a woman. And we have seen similar things in the UK with people like Jo Swinson. Women in politics are held to a much higher standard. They face scrutiny and criticism that men simply don't get. That is a fact.
OK, well, we'll end on that. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks,
Very
Pablo.
Interesting to get your view on all of this. Pablo Ohana, US senior political advisor who's working on Biden's presidential campaign. Good stuff. Well, you got a little bit heated there, didn't you, Ben?
No, I love US politics. Always nice to have a good debate.
Yeah, it's great.
I just don't buy that Hillary lost because she's a woman. I mean, it's just...
I don't buy it either. But, you know, it's a view.
She won the popular vote, but, you know, when it comes to the US elections, you know, it's all done on... I
mean, there are still a lot of sexists out there, but, you know, I'm not sure that was what did it. Anyway, don't go anywhere, because up next we'll be outside Manchester Crown Court because a 30-year-old teacher, Rebecca Joins, has been sentenced to 6.5 years after being found guilty for having sex with 2 pupils. But first, let's get your latest news headlines with Sophia.
Emily, thank you. It's 2:33. I'm Sophia Wensler in the GB newsroom. Your headlines. A former school teacher has been jailed for 6.5 years for engaging in sexual activity with a child. Rebecca Joins, who's 30, had sex with 2 teenage schoolboys after grooming them from the age of 15. She was on bail for one offence when she committed a second offence with another boy with whom she had a child. Polls are open across Britain as millions of people cast their votes to choose the next government. The first voters were up bright and early as stations opened the doors at 7 o'clock this morning. They'll remain open until 10 o'clock tonight, giving a chance to around 46 million eligible voters to have their say on who forms Britain's next government. This is the first general election to require photo ID, and voters are being reminded to bring their driver's licence, passport or other ID, or risk being turned away. A woman has admitted murdering her parents in June of 2019. The bodies of John and Lois McCulloch were discovered by police at their daughter's house after concerns were raised over their welfare. Virginia McCulloch, who's 36, pleaded guilty today before being remanded in custody. Forensic police in Tenerife are focusing their efforts on an Airbnb property where missing teenager Jay Slater reportedly stayed before he vanished. It comes after one of the last people to see the 18-year-old insisted he was alive and well when he left his holiday rental to catch a bus back to his own accommodation. Police have described the individual as irrelevant to the ongoing investigation. In the US, state governors who met with President Biden last night say he's fit for office and he has their backing. Among those signalling their support was Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, who some see as an alternative for the Democratic ticket. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler. More in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. It's going to be a breezy day, especially across the northwest, but there will be some sunnier spells across the south. However, to the north, where that windier weather is through the day, we've also got an occluded front, and that's going to bring some persistent heavy rain and showers, particularly to western areas of Scotland, but also into some northwestern areas of England and parts of Northern Ireland as well. Elsewhere, we should stay dry through the rest of the day. Mix of sunny spells, the longest lived sunshine likely across southeastern areas, where the winds will be the lightest this afternoon, so highs of around 21 degrees here, but further north and west closer to the lower teens. So a fairly fresh feeling day, and some of those showers could turn quite heavy and possibly thundery. The winds will be particularly strong through this afternoon across western areas of Scotland. We could see gale force gusts and some very heavy bursts of rain. Down in towards parts of Northern Ireland, less of a risk of the heavier showers, but a mix of sunny spells and showers, and still pretty breezy here into this afternoon. The winds will slowly start to ease as we head into the evening further south. However, the next batch of rain is arriving from the west, so skies will cloud over across parts of South Wales and southwestern areas of England. And this is the next front arriving for Thursday evening and into Friday. It will bring quite a lot of wet weather to many central and southern areas of England and Wales. Further north, a continued risk of some heavy showers overnight. There will still be some clearer skies for some parts of Northern Ireland and Northern England. Here, temperatures could dip down into the lower single figures for some of us, but most of us, it will be a fairly mild start to the day. And as I said, it's going to be a damper day for southern and central areas. The rain will likely come and go. There could be a drier spell through the middle of the day. We will see the return of that rain from the south and west once again into the evening. But in any sunshine, temperatures climbing to around 21 degrees. But for most of us, a little below par for the time of year.
The latest GB News travel.
Good afternoon. Hello to you. I'm Jules Buckley. The eastbound M62 remains closed from junction 29 to 30. That's Lofthouse to Rothwell, and of course still seeing delays due to a police incident. The southbound M6 lane shut. There's a breakdown between Sandbach and Crewe at junction 17 and the Stoke turn off at 16. So that lane closure with the breakdown is naturally causing some delays. If you're heading for the West Midlands, the northbound M6 at the M5 interchange junction 8. Now 2 lanes are coned off. An overturned vehicle causing delays on all approaches back towards Spaghetti Junction, and on the northbound M5 slow back towards West Brom at junction 1, slow to southbound on the M6. And the M5 in Somerset closed both ways around Bridgewater junction 23 to 24. Delays building there due to a police incident. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Right, well, welcome back. It's 2:39 now. Let's get more of the news that 30-year-old teacher Rebecca Joynes has now been sentenced to 6.5 years after she was found guilty of having sex with 2 pupils.
Let's cross live to GB News North West of England reporter Sophie Reaper, who's outside Manchester Crown Court. Sophie, what's the latest?
Well, this morning here at Manchester Crown Court, we heard a victim impact statement read out on behalf of boy B, whom Rebecca Joynes had an 18-month-long sexual relationship with, starting when he was just 15 years old and in his GCSE year at the Greater Manchester High School, where Rebecca Joynes was his maths teacher. The pair began seeing one another while she was out on bail and suspended from her job for having sex with another 15-year-old pupil, known in this case as boy A. Now, in that statement, it recalled that when he originally gave evidence, boy B was still in love with his former teacher. He said, "I struggled to come to terms with my abuse. I was in total denial. I felt as though I had betrayed someone I loved. I was coerced and controlled, manipulated and sexually abused." Now, Joynes ultimately became pregnant with boy B's child. She gave birth to it earlier this year. And in the statement, it also described the difficulty boy B has faced, having a child with his abuser, both emotionally and financially. The statement said, "Our child comes home smelling of their mum. This completely freaks me out." Now, at the mention of their child, Rebecca Joins, who sat in the dock, began to sob. Now, Judge Kate Cornell then began the sentencing, telling Joins, "You brought this on yourself." She said, "You were the adult, you were the person in control, the person who should have known better, and yet you chose to abuse that position of trust." The judge then passed that sentence of 6.5 years. That's for all 6 counts she was found guilty of earlier this year by a jury here at Manchester Crown Court. She also told Joins that those would be served concurrently, half in prison, half out on licence, and that any time she had already spent in custody would count towards that sentence. Now, throughout the entire process of this in the dock, Rebecca Joins sobbed, and she continued to do so until she was taken away to start serving that prison sentence.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Sophie Reaper, outside the Manchester Crown Court for us. Shocking story.
Yes, indeed. Right, now, this weekend is set to be a scorcher on the sporting front, isn't it? We're not long away from the big event on Saturday afternoon, where England's Euros quarter-final against Switzerland, with Gareth Southgate's men hoping to put in a significantly better performance than the one against Slovakia in the last 16 on Sunday.
They still won.
Oh,
Question
it
marks.
was poor, though, wasn't
it? Question marks remaining over any potential changes Southgate could make, with one rumoured lineup suggesting he could revert to a back 3 and start Ivan Toney up front with Harry Kane. There we go. There we go.
Well done. Let's speak now to
you.
sports broadcaster Chris Scudder. Good afternoon, Chris. Thanks for joining us. Are we going to see a change of mentality?
Good knowledge, guys. Good knowledge there, picking the team already.
Are we going to see a change of mentality from Southgate this weekend, Chris?
I think we will. And, you know, the only reason why is because the reason you just given. They're going to have to change the personnel because of that suspension for Mark Gahey. So I think, I mean, the word is that they have been training with a different look at the back, 3 players at the back, which means the whole team will have a different look, really. I heard you mention Ivan Toney there. I'm sure Harry Kane might be more effective if he does play, but there's a possibility that Phil Foden might play alongside Harry Kane, and the whole team would look very different, because if they do play with 3 at the back, that means they play with 2 wing backs. That would probably be Trent Alexander-Arnold playing in the position he often plays for Liverpool on the right side, and probably on the left-hand side, Bukayo Saka, who generally plays on the right for Arsenal, but could well play as a left wing-back. So, you know, it is square pegs in round holes to a certain extent, but, you know, such has been the outcry that people want to see more positivity from England, and it just might be that enforced change will mean that Gareth Southgate does turn things around, change things around, and that might make it much more entertaining and positive on Saturday.
And Chris, just briefly, what's the atmosphere like in Dusseldorf? Are there lots of England fans enjoying themselves still?
Not yet, to be honest. I'm about to get run over here. I'm standing outside one of the fan zones. We're expecting, I mean, the official allocation is only 7,000, just under, in the 47,000 capacity stadium here in Dusseldorf. But it doesn't work out like that. Fans get their tickets by hook or by crook. I think there'll be about 20,000 England fans inside the stadium, and probably another 10,000 or so outside. I've just been speaking to the Football Supporters Association here, and they tell me that it's very expensive to get out now. For the group stage, it's easy because everyone knows where they have to go and all the rest of it. But when the knockouts start, the movement becomes more difficult, and those who want to come out for the knockout stages, you know, it's going to cost them an arm and a leg. So, you know, so I'm sure they will. It's early yet; it's 2 days away, but it's going to be terrific here. I'm expecting it to be pretty mad here by the weekend.
Fantastic stuff. Have a great time. Chris Scudder, sports broadcaster, thank you for reporting to us live from Dusseldorf. Not Dusseldorf.
Say it again.
It's got an umlaut. Dusseldorf.
Sorry.
It's all right.
I'm a commoner.
That's all right.
Not as posh as you.
Well, it's just, you know, I
had
a German grandmother.
One more time.
Dusseldorf.
What's the difference between what I said?
You said Dusseldorf.
Dusseldorf.
Yeah.
So it's Dusseldorf.
Oh, anyway, it's an education.
Oh.
Coming up at 3 o'clock is Martin, so patronising, is Martin Turbney, and he joins us now. Martin, what's coming up on your show? What have you got for us?
Dusseldorf.
There we go, nailed
I actually
it.
love this pronunciation. Oh, fantastic stuff. Well, of course, I've already done the breakfast show today, but after a cat nap and a Chinese, I'm back for round 2. And we're kicking off about the football, of course. Gareth Southgate, as you know, Emily, I've been saying for weeks, he deserves the chop. He should never have been the England gaffer. He's got one match now, or he's a dead man walking. Can they finally pull something out of the bag, or will the Three Lions be the only thing once again coming home? Of course, we can't talk about our favourite topic today, politics, because of the election this side of the pond. But let's look at that video sting again. Yet another undercover attempt to derail Donald Trump. We saw it in 2016 when he spoke lewdly in locker room talk on a coach. They're at it again. Now he's had a pop at Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Many people saying he's just saying the quiet part out loud. I will explain why this won't work. Once again, every dirty trick in the book expect to be thrown at Donald Trump, and we've still got 4 months to go. And we've got the World Snail Racing Championships. Enjoy life in the slow lane. Now, I'm not saying it's a quiet news day, but it's a quiet news day. That's all coming up between 3 and 6.
Thanks, Martin. Good stuff.
Oh, the snail racing championships. There is something for everyone, isn't there?
Oh, goodness me. I wonder if you can place some wagers on that.
Maybe I'll put a bet. Yeah, I'll put a bet on the snail racing, see if I come out on top. Anyway, coming up, we're going to be discussing Netflix because their romantic series, Bridgerton, has sparked a row about mixed-weight couples on screen. So I guess when one party is much slimmer than the other.
Oh, dear. That's grounds for trouble, isn't it? This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Stick with us. Back in a sec.
Britain's newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
Well, we've got quite an extraordinary story to talk to you about now because a triple amputee war hero is launching a bid to become the first to sail across the Pacific Ocean non-stop, solo and unsupported.
Craig Wood was blown up as a teenager by the Taliban in Afghanistan, but now he's hoping to change the perception of disabled people and raise money for other limbless veterans like himself. And Craig joins us now. Morning.
So, Craig, you are extraordinary. You are planning to take up to 80 days to sail from La Paz in Mexico to Japan.
Yeah.
How many miles is that?
It'd be over 6,000.
Amazing.
Amazing. And it will take you how long?
The minimum it's going to take me is 60 days. It could be up to 80. Yeah.
And that's on your own. You've done plenty of this before, haven't you? You've done lots of solo sailing.
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of solo sailing, but not as big as this. It is the world's biggest ocean, after all.
And why that particular route?
I wanted it to be a challenge, not just for me, but for anyone.
Right.
So any able-bodied person can look at this and go, wow, that is difficult.
Yeah.
And so that was the main drive. Then it's become a bigger thing than that now. Now I'm raising money for charity, and I can truly inspire people to change their perception on what is possible for disabled people.
And if you don't mind, can we ask you what happened in 2009 in Afghanistan? What were the circumstances of your injury?
I was on a normal routine foot patrol. About 5 metres in front of me, a commando IED was triggered. And subsequently, I became a triple amputee, both legs above the knee, left hand at the wrist, facial injuries, etc., etc.
The People's Channel.
This election night, we're putting on a party.
And you are invited.
We'll be here with you.
Following all the twists and turns.
As well as all the live reaction from our election night watch party.
With our GB News lineup.
And as morning breaks, we'll be here with breakfast from 6 a.m.
As it becomes clear who the winners and the losers really are.
Vote 2024.
Thursday, the 4th of July.
Only on GB News, Britain's election channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
night, coming up to 2:51. This is Good Afternoon Britain. Now, Netflix romance series Bridgerton sparked a row about mixed-weight couples on screen, so-called. Many have taken to social media calling it a mixed-weight couple, noting it as fatphobic and ridiculous. Let's get the thoughts of former presenter of Fat Family, Steve Miller. Steve, interested to know what you make of all this. Do you think it's something that should even be commented upon?
Can't even believe we're talking about it, to be quite honest. I mean, what's fatphobic? It's just the truth, isn't it, really? I mean, you know, if one person is fat and the other one isn't, then you're just giving an accurate observation. I mean, it's just common sense. And the key thing here is, I mean, I'll tell you one thing, though. I've got this headline on this article: mixed-weight couples on screen only seem to be a problem when women aren't thin. And I actually think there is a bit of truth in that, because we seem to go... You know, we seem to talk about it more when the woman, my God, my face is looking a bit fat on your screen as well, I tell you.
No, it's not.
I'd be getting fat shamed. Oh, it is. Anyway, but coming back to this, I mean, when it's a woman, we do seem to become a bit more obsessed with it. And I think that is a bit unfair on women, if I'm honest. So I think there is something to be said there. The key thing is, though, you know, and if your partner is too fat, they're overweight, then it is important to have a discussion with them about it. Not by telling them that they're not attractive, but by telling them that you're concerned about their health, unless you want them, you know, to potentially end up on death row too early.
So, Steve, you think we need some more societal pressure on, you know, people of a larger size, because of course it's healthy for them, they'll live longer, their families will enjoy them more, but also it's a burden on the NHS and our public services, no?
Why are you saying larger size? Why aren't you saying the word fat? Are you becoming all woke?
I don't want to get cancelled, Steve.
You won't be cancelled. It's crazy. Do we need to have more pressure? Yes, of course we do, but not in a cruel way. You can be very kind to people, like I am, and just say it bluntly, and have a sense of humour with it along the way as well.
Steve, I don't like the assumption. There seems to be an assumption that he would never be with her because she's got a bit of weight on her. I mean, that's an outrageous thing to say. That's really nasty. If you've got a few extra pounds, no one's going to fancy you.
Oh, well, there are a lot of people around that are chubby chasers. I mean, that is the truth. And actually, what makes someone really attractive, I believe, is actually their personality and their sense of humour and their confidence and their intelligence and their ability to hold a conversation. So I would say to anyone, it is a bit shallow to say, oh, you're a bit of a podge, so I'm not going to fancy you. I mean, my fella's quite podgy, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Now the truth comes out.
Oh, yes. Yes, he's a right chubster, and he would laugh at me saying this. However, may I say, we've been together 26 years, and I absolutely adore him and love him to pieces. But I do wish he'd lose a bit of weight because of his health.
All right, well, I could see some arguments over the dinner table later. Thank you very much indeed, Steve Miller, of course, a former presenter of Fat Families and a friend of the show, I think it's fair to say. Right, that's it from us.
Yeah, hope you've enjoyed yourselves. I have. Martin Daubney's up next, bringing you all the latest. Don't forget, polls close at 10 p.m. tonight. Bring your ID. See you soon.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. It's going to be a breezy day, especially across the northwest, but there will be some sunnier spells across the south. However, to the north, where that windier weather is through the day, we've also got an occluded front, and that's going to bring some persistent heavy rain and showers, particularly to western areas of Scotland, but also into some northwestern areas of England and parts of Northern Ireland as well. Elsewhere, we should stay dry through the rest of the day. Mix of sunny spells, the longest lived sunshine likely across southeastern areas, where the winds will be the lightest this afternoon, so highs of around 21 degrees here, but further north and west closer to the lower teens, so a fairly fresh feeling day, and some of those showers could turn quite heavy and possibly thundery. The winds will be particularly strong through this afternoon across western areas of Scotland. We could see gale force gusts and some very heavy bursts of rain. Down in towards parts of Northern Ireland, less of a risk of the heavier showers, but a mix of sunny spells spells and showers and still pretty breezy here into this afternoon. The winds will slowly start to ease as we head into the evening further south. However, the next batch of rain is arriving from the west. The skies will cloud over across parts of South Wales and southwestern areas of England. And this is the next front arriving for Thursday evening and into Friday. It will bring quite a lot of wet weather to many central and southern areas of England and Wales. Further north, a continued risk of some heavy showers overnight. There will still be some clearer skies for some parts of Northern Ireland and Northern England. Here, temperatures could dip down into the lower single figures for some of us, but most of us, it will be a fairly mild start to the day. And as I said, it's going to be a damper day for southern and central areas. The rain will likely come and go. There could be a drier spell through the middle of the day, but we will see the return of that rain from the south and west once again into the evening. But in any sunshine, temperatures climbing to around 21 degrees, but for most of us, a little below par for the time of year.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's our summer treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest cash prize of the year so far. With an extra £30,000 in your bank account this year, you could take the ultimate financial holiday and send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could get you those nagging home improvements done, buy that brand new car, or just enable you to kick back and relax for the rest of the year. For a chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled.
Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
she could have saved Storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
It went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
A very good afternoon to you. It's 3 p.m. and welcome to the Martin Daubney Show, live on GB News. A former teacher who had sex with 2 teenage schoolboys has been jailed for 6.5 years. Rebecca Joynes cried in the dock as the judge told her she'd exploited her privileged role for her own sexual gratification. Next up, Donald Trump has been hit by an undercover video sting where he laid into broken down Joe Biden and so bad Kamala Harris. Joe Biden's camp has slammed it as a new low in American politics, but Trump supporters are saying that their man is merely saying the quiet bit out loud. Prince Harry has been nominated for a prestigious award, but it's not going down very well at all with everyone. Tens of thousands of people have signed a petition protesting against the decision. And England take on Switzerland in the Euros quarter-finals this Saturday in a do-or-die knockout game. Will the lacklustre Three Lions finally roar, or will Gareth Southgate's boys be the only thing, once again, that's coming home? And brace yourself, it's the Snail Racing World Championships this weekend, where the world's mightiest molluscs head to Norfolk. We'll have all of the latest on life in the slow lane. And that's all coming between now and 6 o'clock. Welcome to the show. Different kind of show today. Of course, there's a general election on, so we're not talking about politics, at least this side of the pond. So pray mercy for American politics, the gift that keeps on giving. Another undercover secret video, this time a sting on Donald Trump, clearly designed to take him out at the knees, just as we saw in 2016. His opponents are using it as political collateral against him. But I'm going to tell you today what I don't think it's going to work. I don't think these tactics have any more teeth. That's all coming up. Get in touch the usual ways. Send your views. GBNews.com/your say. But before all of that, it's your headlines with Sophia Windsor.
Martin, thank you, and good afternoon. It's just after 3 o'clock. First, to breaking news just coming into us from Chelmsford Crown Court, where a security guard who planned to kidnap, rape and murder Holly Willoughby has been found guilty. The judge found that Gavin Plum masterminded the plot to kidnap the television presenter. The 37-year-old previously told jurors that he is heartbroken, disgusted and shocked that his dark conversations had come out, but insisted the plot was a fantasy and not real. A former school teacher has been jailed for 6.5 years for engaging in sexual activity with a child. Rebecca Joins, who's 30, had sex with 2 teenage schoolboys after grooming them from the age of 15. She was on bail for one offence when she committed a second offence with another boy with whom she had a child. Parents of both of her victims watched as she broke down in tears while her sentence was read out at Manchester Crown Court. Polls are open across Britain as millions of people cast their votes to choose the next government. The first voters were up bright and early as stations opened their doors at 7 o'clock this morning. They'll remain open until 10 o'clock tonight, giving a chance to around 46 million eligible voters to have their say on who forms Britain's next government. But this is the first general election to require photo ID, and voters are being reminded to bring their driver's licence, passport or other ID, or risk being turned away. A woman has admitted murdering her parents in June of 2019. The bodies of John and Lois McCulloch were discovered by police at their daughter's house after concerns were raised over their welfare. Virginia McCulloch, who's 36, pleaded guilty today before being remanded in custody. Popular weight loss jabs, including Ozempic and Wegovy, are being linked to a rare condition that causes blindness. According to a new study, people using semaglutide to treat diabetes or lose weight may be at higher risk of developing a condition that causes sudden sight loss. People with the condition typically suffer sudden loss of vision in one eye without any pain, which is often discovered when waking up. A trade body says startups that receive subsidies and tax breaks should be forced to pay back the money if they list outside the UK. UK Finance is calling for tighter controls after London's stock market suffered a number of setbacks in recent years, with several British companies choosing to list in the United States. The group is also calling for penalties for companies in receipt of subsidies that choose to relocate overseas. In other news, forensic police in Tenerife are focusing their efforts on an Airbnb property where missing teenager Jay Slater reportedly stayed before he vanished. It comes after one of the last people to see the 18-year-old insisted he was alive and well when he left his holiday rental to catch a bus back to his own accommodation. Police have described the individual as irrelevant to the ongoing investigation. The search for Jay has now concluded, but police are continuing to look into his last known movements and why he travelled to a location so far from his accommodation. In the US, state governors who met President Biden last night say he's fit for office and he has their backing. The president faced a grilling at the meeting of Democratic governors, which many saw as a test of his leadership. Among those signalling their support was the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, who some see as an alternative for the Democratic ticket. But the United Front unsettled some, with reports suggesting there was little effort to gauge the group's private degree of support for the president. Politics professor Scott Lucas says the coming days will be crucial.
Tomorrow he has a rally in one swing state, in Wisconsin. On Sunday he has a rally in another swing state, which is Pennsylvania. If Biden can make it through that interview and those rallies and instill some confidence, then maybe he stays in the race. But if Biden stumbles in any of those appearances, then I think next week is the critical time when you will see, not publicly, but privately, the pressure build on him to leave gracefully for the sake of America, given the threat of Donald Trump.
The King has sent his and his family's heartfelt condolences to the people of the Caribbean following the death and destruction caused by Hurricane Beryl. It comes as Royal Navy warship HMS Trent is being deployed to the Cayman Islands to offer support. It's understood the offshore patrol vessel will arrive in the Cayman Islands this weekend, where crew will be ready to help